Chapter 6252. Little Ant, what did you say? The giant elephant's face darkened. I was willing to let bygones be bygones for the sake of my third brother. Get lost and disappear in front of me. I said, apologize to me. Lin Xian took a step forward and shouted coldly. His voice was like thunder, clearly reaching everyone's ears. Not good. The Red Fish Emperor, Yu Wu Dao, and the others' faces changed. This was completely offending an Earth immortal. The giant elephant was furious. Who gave you the courage to say that? You think you can challenge me just because you defeated 7 guardian beasts? You're too naive. Although those guardian beasts are powerful, they're nothing to us. It's just that we can't attack them due to certain rules. Do you really think you're invincible? After saying that, he looked at the eagle deity. He said, Third brother, I gave you face and didn't argue with him. But if he continues to be so arrogant, don't blame me for being merciless. When the time comes, if you want to stop me, I won't go easy on you. The eagle deity also frowned. He said, All right, young man, enough is enough. Lin Xian shook his head. I said he has to apologize. Otherwise, I'll make him regret it. After saying that, Lin Xian took out the gourd. After opening it, a terrifying aura spread out. The eagle deity wanted to say something, but when he saw this scene, his eyelids twitched. The immortal flame. He was shocked. It seemed that this young man wanted to use the immortal flame to deal with the giant elephant. He looked forward and sighed. The giant elephant was going to be at a disadvantage. He didn't say anything else and retreated to the side. The giant elephant was furious. Little ant, do you really think I don't dare to kill you? I'll cripple you first, then slowly torture you. He raised his giant palm again. But in the next moment, when the flames from the gourd flew out, the giant elephant was stunned. His expression changed. What kind of aura was this? It was the same kind of flame as before. It was this power that had blocked his attack just now. The others were also shocked. What was this? Whether it was the 3rd or 4th heaven, or even the Red Fish Emperor, Yu Wu Dao, or Emperor Cancing, they were all stunned. Lin Xian still had a trump card, and it was a trump card that they had never seen before. What the hell is this? Do you really think that I can't resist you just because you're an Earth immortal? Carefully feel the power of this flame. It is enough to take your life. Even if you don't die, you will be seriously injured. After saying that, Lin Xian continued to activate the purple gourd. Inside, the aura of the 3 true flames permeated the air. A terrifying force swept out in all directions. Retreat quickly. At this moment, regardless of whether it was the 3rd layer of heaven or the 4th layer of heaven, everyone retreated. Their faces were filled with terror. This power was too terrifying. They couldn't resist at all. Even the giant elephant's expression turned ugly. What kind of flame was this? Why did it feel like its life was being threatened? After all, he is an Earth immortal. He had 3 strands of immortal energy, transcending everything. He laughed arrogantly in all directions. But now, a tiny ant could actually threaten him. He looked at Eagle God. Eagle deity shook his head and said, I really can't do anything about this. Why don't you apologize? The giant elephant almost went mad with anger. Apologize? What a joke. This was a slap to his face. This was trampling on his dignity, and he would never agree to it, even if he died. If you don't apologize, then die. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The first strand of 3 true flames had already floated out of the purple gourd. After he came out, the power was even more terrifying. Lin Xian aimed at the Earth immortal, no matter how strong the other party was. So what? The 3 true flames were not to be trifled with. Lin Xian felt that it was necessary to intimidate the other party. Otherwise, his life could not be guaranteed. After all, he had shown too many trump cards before. The Great Dragon Sword Soul, the 9 Yang Divine Body, and the Rinnegan, each of them made people jealous. If he did not intimidate these people, there would be endless trouble in the future. The giant elephant trembled with anger. The other party was actually threatening him? Damn it, this was really too despicable. He really did not dare to make a move. The power of this flame was terrifying beyond his imagination. Old Three, tell me, what is this thing? Eagle Deity sighed and said, Endless fire. It was just 4 words, but it made the giant elephant feel as if he was struck by lightning. What? Immortal fire? Impossible. How could this kid have this thing? This time he was really afraid. Previously, he had planned to go all out, but after hearing these 4 words, he seemed to have lost all will to fight. Immortal! That was an existence that made him afraid. He never had this kind of power, and he didn't even think that other Earth immortals would have it. Why would this ordinary great emperor have it? Wait, the other party came out of the dream of the ancient times. Could it be that this was something that he brought out from the dream of the ancient times? The giant elephant guessed some possibilities and then sucked in a breath of cold air. His face became extremely ugly. However, he still did not want to apologize. He could not count on Eagle Deity, so he could only count on another person. His big brother. He was also the guardian of the 5th layer of heaven. His big brother's strength was even stronger than his. If the other party came out, he should be able to resolve this awkward situation. Thinking of this, he roared towards the sky. Congratulations, big brother. The demon god's ancient tomb has been completely opened. Please lead us in. His voice passed through the 4th layer of heaven and arrived at the 5th layer of heaven. It sounded in the 5th layer of heaven. The creatures of the 5th layer of heaven were shocked by this voice and almost fainted. At the same time, there was a tall figure in the 5th layer of heaven. This was a lion, a black lion with 9 heads. 9-headed lion. He was the guardian of the 5th layer of heaven. He was also an earth immortal, and he was the big brother of Eagle Deity and the giant elephant. His strength could be said to be unfathomable. There was also a figure following beside him. It was the Golden Lion King. At this moment, after the Golden Lion King heard this terrifying voice, his blood was also boiling. How terrifying! This was the voice of an earth immortal. Who was it? His strength was not enough to see through the 3rd layer of heaven. However, the 9-headed lion could see it. He stood in the 5th layer of heaven, but he had a panoramic view of the ancient tomb. At this moment, when he heard the giant elephant's voice, he did not take action. To be honest, the 9-headed lion wanted to take action because opening the demon god's ancient tomb had always been his wish. Now that it was opened, he wanted to enter and reward his 3rd brother. However, before he could take action, the giant elephant took the initiative to attack. Not only that, it even attracted the immortal fire. Now that the giant elephant was asking him for help, he couldn't care less. If he went out, then it was very likely that he would be facing the immortal fire. To be honest, even if his strength was unfathomable and incomparably powerful, he was not willing to face the immortal fire. Chapter 62:53. The Colossus shouted once, but there was no response. He shouted twice more, but there was still no response. He was dumbfounded. What is Big Brother doing? Why didn't he come out? Lin Xian sneered. Stop shouting. No one will come to save you, even if you shout until your throat breaks. Apologize, and I can take back this flame. Otherwise, let's fight to the death. The Colossus was really crazy. He had lived for millions of years, and it wasn't that he had never been threatened. However, this was the first time he was threatened by an ant in his eyes. However, in the hands of this ant, there was the immortal fire that was enough to threaten his life. It couldn't be helped. The scene was very awkward, and the people of the 4th heaven didn't dare to speak. Even Great Emperor Songqing and Great Emperor Xingyao were dumbfounded. What was going on? This flame could even threaten an earth immortal. Lin Wudi actually had such a treasure. If the other party could still get out alive, then wouldn't the earth immortals on the other side be in danger? If you don't apologize in 3 seconds, I will make a move. Lin Xian said coldly. 3 seconds passed very quickly. The Colossus had no choice but to grit his teeth and say, Young man, I shouldn't have attacked you before. How about this? Let's forget about this enmity with a smile. This was already an apology in disguise. When they heard this, the powerhouses of the fourth heaven were stunned. Their lord, the high and mighty Earth Immortal, actually apologized. It was really unbelievable. Even Eagle God was surprised. This Colossus was so arrogant and unruly. But now he actually lowered his head in front of a great emperor. Forget about this enmity with a smile, no. Lin Xian shook his head. First, apologize solemnly, say sorry. Second, you have to give me some compensation. As an Earth Immortal, you have a lot of treasures in your hands. You scared me before, so you have to give me a treasure. If you can't do one of these two things, I won't take back this flame. The Colossus was mad. If it was any other time, he would have slapped the other party to death many times. However, in the face of the immortal fire, he couldn't do anything. Endure, I will endure. The Colossus said in his heart, Kid, just you wait. Give me a chance. I will make you wish you were dead. He was silent for a long time as his expression changed. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, I'm sorry. Then he casually threw a weapon to the other party from his storage ring. This was an extreme weapon, and the Colossus had no use for it. After that, the Colossus turned around and left. The powerhouses of the fourth heaven quickly followed. They knew that they had lost a lot of face this time and had to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would be laughed at by others. Great Emperor Xingyao and the others were stunned. What should they do? Are they going to stay here or go back with someone? At this moment, the Colossus turned its head and stared at an old man beside Great Emperor Xingyao. This was a black-robed old man who was also a great emperor. However, in the next instant, he was trampled to death by the huge elephant, and his heart and soul were destroyed. A piece of trash. After stomping the great emperor to death, he turned around and left. Great Emperor Tsongqing and Great Emperor Star Brilliance almost dropped to their knees. Another one of their companions had died. Just like that? Furthermore, it was a pointless death. This was definitely the Colossus venting its killing intent. However, the other party did not dare to attack Lin Xian. Instead, they attacked them. Damn it! They were mad with anger, but they did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. The Colossus left. Great Emperor Tsongqing and the others were scared silly. As for Lin Xian, he picked up the extreme weapon and put it away. Lei Xiao and the others looked at Lin Xian with strange eyes. The other party was able to make a land immortal bow his head. What a heaven-defying move. Eagle God also had a strange expression. For a moment, the atmosphere was extremely silent. However, at this moment, a pitch-black figure appeared in the fifth layer of heaven. It was a 9-headed lion. Its aura was even more terrifying than the Colossus from before. Lei Xiao and the others hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Lord 9-headed Lion. They were extremely respectful. The 9-headed lion stood between heaven and earth. He lowered his gaze and stared at Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt a suffocating feeling. Immediately, he took out the purple gourd. The 9-headed lion snorted coldly. He retracted his gaze and ignored Lin Xian. Instead, he looked at Eagle God. He said, "You've done well this time." Eagle God said, "Big brother, you're here. It's my luck to meet such a terrifying young man." After speaking, he looked at Lin Xian. The 9-headed lion naturally knew about Lin Xian. He had already seen the previous battle when he was in the fifth heaven. However, he did not want to have too much to do with Lin Xian. With a wave of his paw, 10 longevity fruits appeared in front of Lin Xian. He said coldly, "Young man, take these longevity fruits and leave this place. I'll send you directly to the 6th heaven." Obviously, the 9-headed lion did not want Lin Xian to stay here any longer. Because this little ant, he could not beat or scold him. If he was not careful, the other party would go all out and play a life and death struggle. Who could stand it? Who dared to offend Lin Xian? That Colossus was the best outcome. Although the land immortals would not be injured, it was too sullen. Lin Xian put away the 10 longevity fruits and was extremely happy. Thank you, Senior. He finally got the longevity fruits, so he naturally would not stay here. It was great that the other party sent him to the 6th heaven. However, at this time he was stunned. That was because he discovered a familiar silhouette beside the 9-headed lion. It was the Golden Lion King. You were threatened? Lin Xian asked. The 9-headed lion's eyelids twitched. Even Eagle God sucked in a breath of cold air. No way. They knew each other. This guy is not courting death again, right? Is he going to attack his boss? The Golden Lion King said. No, this is a senior of my lion clan. I'm going to stay by his side and cultivate well. Oh, okay. Seeing that the Golden Lion King was not in danger, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Coming to the Immortal City was both a challenge and an opportunity. Although they were in danger here, there were too many treasures in the Immortal City. There was more than one land immortal. If they could cultivate with the land immortals, their strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. The Golden Lion King had encountered a great opportunity this time. Let's go. One of the 9-headed lion's heads opened its mouth and spat out a storm, enveloping Lin Xian and the others. Not only that, even Emperor Xingyao and Emperor Songqing were enveloped at the same time. In the next moment, this gale flew across the 5th heaven and directly towards the 6th heaven. In an instant, Lin Xian and the others disappeared. The trouble is finally gone. Let's go in. The 9-headed lion landed and walked towards the demon god's ancient tomb. At this time, the void behind them shattered again, and the Colossus returned. He would not miss the demon god's ancient tomb. The 3 land immortals entered the demon god's ancient tomb. As for what was inside, Lin Xian and the others did not know. At this moment, Lin Xian and the others felt the world was spinning. However, in an instant this feeling disappeared. They arrived at the 6th heaven. Chapter 6254. Have I arrived at the 6th layer of heaven? Lin Xian took a deep breath and quickly recovered his body. At the same time, he looked around. I wonder what kind of fortuitous encounter there will be in the 6th layer of heaven. He already had 18 longevity fruits in his possession, but it wasn't enough. Lin Xian wanted to save everyone. At this time, the Red Fish Emperor and Yi Wudao also appeared. Not far from them were 2 other figures, Great Emperor Songqing and Great Emperor Xingyao. This time, when they were teleported to the 6th layer of heaven, they weren't randomly teleported. Everyone was together. When Yi Wudao and the Red Fish Emperor saw the people from the other side, they were immediately on guard. Great Emperor Songqing and Great Emperor Xingyao's expressions were gloomy. This was an opportunity. Should they make a move? However, when they were dealing with the guardian beast, Lin Xian had swept through them like a hot knife through butter. That power made them fearful. Could they really beat the other party? Lin Xian looked ahead, his eyes bursting with extremely cold, killing intent. He said that since he had encountered them, he might as well deal with them. These 2 were super great emperors. If he let them live, they would definitely have a fortuitous encounter and become stronger. He wouldn't allow that to happen. Since they were enemies, he would mercilessly make a move. This was a good opportunity. Thinking of this, Lin Xian walked forward. Yi Wudao and the Red Fish Emperor also took a deep breath and followed him. A great battle was about to break out. Although Lin Xian was incomparably terrifying, the 2 super great emperors weren't to be trifled with either. Damn it, you want to attack us? Great Emperor Xingyao and Great Emperor Songqing gritted their teeth. They wouldn't give up without putting up a fight. The guardian beast was incomparably strange, which was why they couldn't kill it. However, if it was really a battle of life and death, they might not lose. The killing intent between the 2 sides grew colder and colder. However, at this time, a ray of light streaked across the sky. This purple beam of light tore the void apart as a horrifying amount of power appeared. Everyone was trembling. Lin Xian also looked up at the sky. He frowned slightly and didn't make a move, because he felt that this power belonged to a land immortal. That's right, the sixth heaven also had a guardian. However, he didn't expect that as soon as he arrived, the guarding earth immortal would appear. That was really fast. Great Emperor Xingyao and Great Emperor Tsangqing were also taken aback, but they were soon overjoyed. That's great. Now that the Earth Immortal is here, the other party can't behave atrociously anymore. To be honest, the two of them were really scared. After all, Lin Xian had previously threatened the giant elephant and even made it lower its head. The other party had a trump card that could threaten an Earth Immortal. If he were to deal with them, wouldn't their souls be destroyed? Therefore, the two of them didn't want to fight with Lin Xian unless they had no other choice. Greetings, Senior. Great Emperor Xingyao and Great Emperor Xingyao quickly bowed to the void. Purple light descended between heaven and earth, and then a figure walked out. This figure was incomparably mysterious. He was wearing a purple armor that covered his entire body. Only a pair of eyes could be seen. That pair of eyes was also covered in a purple glow. They were incomparably deep, as if they were high and mighty gods. Lin Xian and the others also bowed. The purple figure descended. I am the guardian of the sixth heaven, purple deity. It was indeed the guardian. Great Emperor Xingyao and the others were overjoyed. They asked while bowing, "We are willing to accept any test. Senior, please give us clues about the longevity fruit. You people are intruders." Purple deity's eyes scanned the crowd and then stared at Lin Xian and the others. "Are you also here for the longevity fruit?" "That's right," the Red Fish Emperor said. "Please give us some guidance." Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and asked again, "Senior, do you know any clues about the immortal token?" As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned. The immortal token was something that could save everyone's life. However, this thing was too mysterious, and no one had ever obtained it. Even the last intruder didn't get it, not even a clue. This kid must be crazy. Who does he think he is? How dare he covet the immortal token? Great Emperor Xingyao and Great Emperor Xingyao sneered. Even Purple Deity was stunned. He stared at Lin Xian with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. An ordinary Great Emperor dared to speak so arrogantly. Who gave him the courage and confidence? However, this made him even more surprised, because he realized that Lin Xian and Yi Wudao were just ordinary great emperors. However, these people were able to come to the sixth level of heaven, and they were the first batch of intruders. That was too unusual. Forget it. Perhaps these people have a trump card. Purple Deity knew that these intruders weren't ordinary, but he didn't probe further. The immortal token is too mysterious. It's not in the sixth level of heaven, and I don't have any clues. If you want clues about the immortal token, keep going. However, I do have clues about the longevity fruit. 10 longevity fruits are in my hands. Another 10 fruits. Hearing this, the eyes of the Red Fish Emperor and the others turned red. Great Emperor Xingyao and the others were also excited. So far, they hadn't obtained a single longevity fruit. This wasn't good news, because they were already at the sixth level of heaven. There were a total of 9 levels, and there weren't many chances left. This time they had to get it. Even if they couldn't get all of it, they had to get 2 to save their lives. How could they get it? Great Emperor Tsangqing asked. It was very simple. Purple Deity said that whoever came to the sixth level of heaven first would get it. If more than one person arrived, then they would fight. In the end, only one person would get all the longevity fruits. When these words came out, everyone was stunned. It was so simple. Wasn't it too casual? One had to know that it was extremely difficult to obtain the longevity fruits. For example, the dream god's dream of eternity had made them hover between life and death, and the demon god's tomb in the third level of heaven had made them feel like they were facing a great enemy. In fact, 2 great emperors had died there. But now, whoever came to the sixth level of heaven first would get all the longevity fruits. It was really too simple. Actually, they didn't know that Purple Deity didn't like standing guard here. It was only because of certain reasons that he had to stay here. As for the longevity fruits, what did they have to do with him? He would give them to whoever came first. It seemed that several people had arrived at the same time. Then let's fight. The final winner would get all the fruits. When he thought of this, the purple light on his body quickly condensed, enveloping the entire world. Then a purple pagoda appeared. This pagoda kept growing bigger and bigger, completely enveloping Lin Xian and the others. All right, you guys can make your move. No matter what method you use, I won't stop you. Purple Deity wanted to watch a good show. He wondered who would be able to walk out in the end. Chapter 62-55. Inside the mysterious pagoda, a few figures appeared. It was Lin Xian and the others. As soon as they appeared, they were very clear. Standing opposite them were Great Emperor Songqing and Great Emperor Xingyao. Both of their brows furrowed tightly. To be honest, they didn't expect that they wouldn't be able to avoid a battle after Earth Immortal came out. They thought that they could escape after Earth Immortal came out, but they didn't expect the battle to be even more intense. Only one person could win. In this way, Lin Xian and the others couldn't hold back. It was impossible to lose without a fight. They could only fight with their backs against the wall. Thinking of this, both of them took a deep breath. Great Emperor Xingyao said, "I'll deal with Lin Wudi. As for the other two, I'll leave them to you. Is that okay?" Great Emperor Songqing said, "No problem." In the next moment, the two of them quickly attacked. Great Emperor Wu Qing's merciless sword slashed out. This sword was like a long rainbow. Boom! Red Fish Emperor rushed over. His body exploded with a terrifying light to block the sword. Yi Wudao's blood was boiling from the impact. "Forget it. You guys can fight this battle." He looked around and didn't fight. Instead, he went to the side. Yi Wudao watched the battle because he didn't plan to join forces with Red Fish Emperor. With his current strength, it was difficult to pose a threat to a super great emperor. Plus, Red Fish Emperor was also a super great emperor. He had his own pride. "Thank you." Red Fish Emperor thanked Yi Wudao. In the next moment, he roared. His eyes exploded with a cold light as he stared at Great Emperor Songtian. Some scales appeared on his body. Then, a powerful force exploded as he rushed over. On the other side, Lin Xian also stared at Great Emperor Xingyao. Great Emperor Xingyao shouted coldly and attacked without saying a word. There was a terrifying starlight on his body. As soon as the starlight appeared, the surrounding void kept shaking. Countless starlight seemed to have turned into ancient swords and stabbed over. Great Emperor Xingyao knew how terrifying Lin Xian was, so he didn't dare to hold back. However, Lin Xian didn't block. His body swayed and he quickly dodged. Great Emperor Xingyao was stunned. What's going on? How can this kid dodge? He was well aware of Lin Xian's temper. He was extremely arrogant. When fighting with others, it was all about meeting force with force. How could he dodge? However, he quickly understood that Lin Xian was practicing his movement technique. Lin Xian's opening of the demon god's tomb made Eagle God very happy. Eagle Deity gave him a movement technique called Heavenly Eagle Instant Breath. Most likely, this was the movement technique that the other party was practicing right now. Indeed, Lin Xian was currently practicing the Heavenly Eagle Blink. When he arrived, he wanted to end the battle as quickly as possible. However, on second thought, he decided not to finish off the other party immediately. This was because he had several advantages now. Number 1, 100 years was still a very long time. Secondly, if they were to fight now, no one else would be able to join them. In other words, no matter how long they stayed here, the others would not be able to obtain the 10 longevity fruits from the 6th layer of heaven. Since that was the case, there was no need for Lin Xian to act immediately. Moreover, he could sense that this purple pagoda was also a treasure. It was very likely to be a divine artifact. It was very safe to cultivate here. Therefore, Lin Xian treated Emperor Starglory as a practice opponent. Damn it, this was too despicable. Emperor Starglory was so angry that he vomited blood. After over 100 moves, Lin Xian was only dodging. At first, the other party's speed was very slow. However, it gradually became faster and faster. A pair of illusory wings appeared behind the other party's back. They flapped gently, and his speed was extremely fast. As expected of an ultimate technique given by a land immortal, it was indeed terrifying. At this rate, the other party's speed would become more and more terrifying. Emperor Starglory roared, "Kid, if you have the guts, fight me head-on. Didn't you claim to be invincible? Why don't you dare to fight me?" He began to provoke him crazily because he really could not take it anymore. It was too aggrieving. However, Lin Xian was unmoved. He continued to dodge and began to practice his movement technique. On the other side, the Red Fish Emperor and Emperor Tsongqing were having an exciting fight. They were evenly matched. Outside, when Zi Xian saw this scene, she narrowed her eyes. She was extremely disdainful of Lin Xian's dodging at the beginning. It seemed that he was just an ordinary great emperor. He was not a match for a super great emperor. However, she gradually realized that something was wrong. Why was this movement technique similar to the eagle god of the third heaven? Although Lin Xian had just started cultivating, Zi Xian still recognized it in an instant. Instant of the heavenly eagle. This kid could actually obtain the instant of the heavenly eagle. What was his relationship with the eagle god? A land immortal's ultimate technique would not be easily given to others. However, the eagle god had given it to him. Zi Xian could not understand. However, since he had already set the rules, he could not change them. Wasn't it just dodging? No problem. He had plenty of time. He had been here for millions of years. He did not mind spending a little more time to watch the battle. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Lin Xian was still cultivating on the 3rd level. Emperor Starglory was furious. In the end, he decided not to attack. Buzz! Lin Xian frowned slightly. Then he snorted coldly and attacked decisively. He slashed out with his sword. This sword was not aimed at Emperor Starglory. Instead, it was aimed at Emperor Tsongqing. Emperor Tsongqing was originally locked in battle with the Red Fish Emperor. However, he was suddenly hit by the sword. His entire body flew out. A huge crack appeared on his back. He was almost split in half. She was instantly severely injured. Her eyes were red. "Damn it, Lin Wuti! How dare you sneak attack me?" He roared crazily. At the same time, he was extremely resentful. "Starglory, what are you doing? Why didn't you stop this kid?" Starglory almost cursed out loud. "Too despicable. Attack me if you have the guts." To be honest, he did not expect this scene at all. He did not plan to attack. Even if Lin Wuti attacked him, he would dodge. He also wanted to let the other party have a taste of punching the air. However, he did not expect that Lin Xian did not attack him. Instead, he directly attacked Emperor Tsongqing. Emperor Starglory had no choice. He could only attack Lin Xian again. However, Lin Xian kept dodging and continued to cultivate his movement technique. Just like that, a month passed. During this month, Emperor Tsongqing's injuries became more and more serious. After being attacked by Lin Xian, the Red Fish Emperor seized the opportunity and began to attack crazily. In the end, Emperor Tsongqing was defeated. She was defeated, but she did not die or leave. Instead, she retreated to the side and gritted her teeth. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months passed. Emperor Starglory had really gone crazy. Outside, Zi Xian also frowned. It was too boring. A few small ants had taken up so much of his time. He snorted coldly and pointed at the purple pagoda in the void. Suddenly, the pagoda shook. Everyone inside felt their hair stand on end. At the same time, a voice sounded. "The battle will end within a day. Otherwise, all of you will be killed. Hearing this, Great Emperor Starglory took a deep breath. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He clapped his hand and took out the purple gourd. After opening it, the power of the immortal fire spread out. The originally terrifying purple pagoda immediately shook violently after sensing the power of the immortal fire, and the light on it dimmed. Chapter 6256. Purple Immortal finally got impatient. The consequences of the anger of an Earth Immortal were very terrifying, so no one dared to resist. The eyes of Great Emperor Xingyao and the others were filled with despair. Could they finish the battle in one day? It seemed like they were going to go all out. Whether they won or lost, they couldn't fight anymore. He made up his mind and prepared to launch a peerless attack. However, at this moment, he was stunned because he discovered that Lin Xian was also furious. The other party attacked. The other party took out the purple gourd star. Great Emperor Xingyao was scared out of his wits. Was he going to die? One had to know that this purple gourd had threatened the giant elephant. Even a peerless Earth Immortal like the giant elephant had bowed his head. How could he be his opponent? He was so scared that he almost knelt on the ground. But the next change made him even more dumbfounded. Lin Xian didn't attack him at all. Instead, he took out the purple gourd and waved it gently. Suddenly, the power of the immortal fire emerged. The purple pagoda shook violently and the light on it dimmed. Great Emperor Xingyao was stunned. What was going on with this guy? He didn't attack him. Was he going to attack the Earth Immortal? God, this Lin Wudy was too crazy. Now he was targeting the Earth Immortal. He was so scared that he didn't dare to speak. At the same time, Purple Immortal was also stunned. Her purple gourd actually shook. Impossible. One had to know that this was his weapon. This was a divine weapon. What could make a divine weapon tremble? Not to mention it was just something that an ordinary great emperor used. He frowned and looked forward. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically. This was the power of the immortal fire. This was impossible. How could this kid have such a thing in his hands? He looked carefully. A few seconds later, his expression was extremely solemn. It really was the power of immortality. He couldn't be wrong. Kid, how could you have the power of immortality in your hands? Where did you get it? Purple Immortal shouted coldly. Now, the outcome of the competition was no longer important. The power of immortality was the most important. Even an Earth Immortal like him couldn't control this power. Could it be that the other party had something to do with the Immortal Lord? Lin Xian looked at the other party and said indifferently, "You don't need to know where this thing came from. You only need to know that this thing can threaten an Earth Immortal. Are you threatening me now?" Purple Immortal's face darkened. That was right. Lin Xian nodded. Holy **T, this is too crazy. Great Emperor Xingyao and Great Emperor Songqing were both dumbfounded. This guy was threatening the land immortals again. Purple Deity was also furious. Since when had anyone dared to threaten him? However, in the next moment, when he sensed that there was more than one flame in the purple gourd, his eyelids twitched. He suppressed the shock in his heart. Just one flame was enough to injure him. If 3 flames were to attack him at the same time, he would probably end up in a miserable state. Seeing Violet Immortal remain silent, Lin Xian also smiled. "Senior, I have no enmity with you, so I naturally don't want to threaten you. My request is very simple. Follow the previous rules. When Senior made us fight before, there was no time limit, so I hope that Senior doesn't have any time limit now. Finishing the battle in one day? What a joke." Lin Xian wasn't willing to do that. Now, this was the perfect opportunity to cultivate. Currently, he was at the 6th layer of heaven. Who knew how dangerous the remaining 3 layers would be? What's more, there wasn't even a clue about the immortal token. One could imagine that the immortal token was very likely to be in the last few levels. It would definitely be even more dangerous there. Therefore, Lin Xian had to have another trump card. He had to master the heavenly eagle's blink. Being threatened by Lin Xian, purple deity snorted coldly. Although he was unwilling, he didn't dare to make a move. He could only close his eyes as a form of tacit agreement. Thank you, Senior. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He put away the purple gourd and looked at Great Emperor Xing Yao and Great Emperor Songqing again. Come on, let's do it. The two super great emperors even had the heart to die. They were so high and mighty before, but now they were forced to make a move. Needless to say, Lin Xian would definitely continue to cultivate the heavenly eagle technique. Their guess was right. This process lasted for 3 years. After 3 years, Lin Xian had a pair of black wings on his back. He flapped them gently, and his speed was extremely fast. Even the super great emperors were shocked. The other party had mastered it. Although it was only at the initial stage, his speed had already surpassed them. It was time to settle it. Kill! Lin Xian roared and charged towards Great Emperor Xing Yao. On the other side, Red Fish Emperor and Yi Wu Dao began to make their moves. They knew that this was the decisive moment. The result was obvious. Great Emperor Xing Yao wasn't Lin Xian's opponent at all. After a huge battle, he was killed by Lin Xian. However, he was a super great emperor after all. His vitality was incomparably tenacious. Lin Xian used the dragon sword soul to grind him down for a month before killing him. His face became extremely pale. On the other side, Great Emperor Songqing was also seriously injured. Everything was over. Lin Xian turned his head and joined the battle. How could Great Emperor Songqing be his opponent? Soon his body was torn apart. His soul wanted to escape, but the purple pagoda was a divine weapon. He couldn't escape at all. After another month, his soul also died under the great dragon sword soul. It was really hard to kill. Lin Xian took a deep breath. With the dragon sword soul, it took him a month to kill his opponent. Without the dragon sword soul, it would be really difficult to kill a super great emperor. It couldn't be helped. A super great emperor cultivated 2 strands of immortal qi. It was difficult for them to die, even if they wanted to. After all, some of them had lived for hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions of years. Yes, Lin Xian nodded. However, he believed that as his strength increased and the dragon's sword soul recovered, it would become easier for him to kill super great emperors. With 10 longevity fruits in hand, Lin Xian smiled. Next, Red Fish Emperor and Yi Wu Dao admitted defeat. The winner was Lin Xian. Looking at the scene before her, Violet Deity's expression was solemn. She didn't know what to say. To be honest, she wasn't surprised by Lin Xian's victory. After all, he had the immortal flame. However, Lin Xian didn't use the immortal flame to kill 2 super great emperors. This shocked her. His sword could destroy everything. It could even kill a super great emperor's soul. It was unbelievable. It seemed that this young man wasn't simple. Forget it. Let's not provoke him. Violet Deity shook her head slightly. She opened the pagoda and let the 3 of them out. Then, with a wave of her hand, 10 longevity fruits appeared. She said, "You've succeeded. The 10 longevity fruits are yours." "Thank you, Senior." Lin Xian smiled after receiving it. Red Fish Emperor and Yi Wu Dao were also very happy. Now, they had 28 longevity fruits. Almost half of the longevity fruits were in their hands. This was something that he had never dared to imagine before. Chapter 62-57. Next was to head to the 7th heaven. What was in the 7th heaven? He hoped that it would be as simple as the 6th heaven. That's right. In Lin Xian's opinion, the 6th heaven was really too simple. He cultivated here again. The heavenly eagle's movement technique killed 2 super great emperors from the other side. He also obtained 10 longevity fruits. It could be said that it was perfect. On the other side, Xian waved his hand and tore open a spatial rift. Then it condensed into a vortex. He sent Lin Xian and the others into the vortex. They were finally going to the seventh heaven. Lin Xian and the others took a deep breath. They were extremely excited. Then the vortex disappeared. Looking at the disappearing figures, Zi Xian's eyes flickered. Then he shook his head slightly. Little guy, the seventh heaven was much more complicated than here. Whether or not you can obtain the longevity fruits of the seventh heaven depends on your luck. He was right. The sixth heaven was too simple. Zi Xian even took the initiative to look for Lin Xian and the others, because Zi Xian was not willing to waste time on this. The seventh heaven was completely different. There, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to obtain the longevity fruits. Lin Xian and the others did not know about this. The seventh heaven was like a boundless world. East County Mansion. At this moment, it was extremely lively, because today was the day that the little princess of the East County Mansion, Dong Yingying, would hold a martial arts competition to find a husband. Countless geniuses and experts went crazy for it. They were all going to participate in this martial arts competition. The East County Mansion was a top family, and Dong Yingying was as beautiful as a fairy. Logically speaking, only the geniuses of other top families were worthy of the little princess of such a top family. However, they did not. Instead, they held a martial arts competition to find a husband. It was said that only the most powerful geniuses were worthy of Dong Yingying. This way, those families were not particularly powerful, and the young people who were strong themselves were very happy. They all signed up. However, ordinary people could not do it, even if you were a supreme sage, because Dong Yingying was a quasi-emperor, and she was the 8-time champion. His strength was terrifying to the extreme. Moreover, the East County Mansion was a family of formations. Their attainments in formations were very terrifying. Dong Yingying could fight against a great emperor with her array formation. Therefore, in order to win the contest, one had to be at least a great emperor. Sure enough, the ones who entered the finals were a few young and handsome great emperors. The 3 great emperors fought against Dong Yingying, but they were all defeated in the end. However, this battle was extremely exciting, causing countless people to exclaim in admiration. Now, there was only one young great emperor left. His name was Qin Yuntian. He was a member of the Qin family. However, he was only a disciple of the side branch of the Qin family. When he was young, he was sent out of the family to train and gain experience outside. It had to be said that Qin Yuntian's talent and opportunity were both very good. He had broken through to become a great emperor at such a young age. Although he was young, Qin Yuntian was actually 15,000 years old. However, among the great emperors, he was very young. Qin Yuntian's goal this time was to win the competition and marry Dong Yingying. From there, he entered the East County Mansion. There was nothing he could do about it. Although he was powerful and had unparalleled talent, he did not have a powerful family to rely on. He could not return to the Qin clan. Because of the grudges of the previous generation, the Qin clan would definitely not allow him to return. He could only look for other powerful families. The East County residence was just right. The formation of the East County residence was extremely terrifying. The most famous one was the Great Sky Formation. This was the top secret technique of the East County residence. Dong Yingying looked at the handsome man in front of her and took a deep breath. Next, she would have to go all out. She was not willing to participate in this competition at all. However, this was the will of the family. She could not go against it. What she could do was to defeat all her opponents. She would not marry anyone. Fairy, sorry for offending you. A handsome smile appeared on Qin Yuntian's face. In the next moment, he attacked. He struck out with his palm. It was earth-shattering. Terrifying lightning swept out like an ocean, shattering the sky. The surrounding people cried out in surprise. One had to admit that Qin Yuntian was really powerful. Among all the participants, he was probably the strongest one. Therefore, he had the most hope. Dong Yingying naturally did not dare to be careless. She waved her hand and formed a formation around her. There were countless chains in this formation. It seemed to be able to bind everything. The formation was called the Heaven-Suppressing Lock. The moment the formation was formed, Qin Yuntian felt a wave of pressure. It was as if his body was about to be locked. It was so terrifying. As expected of the East County residents' secret technique. The other party was just an 8-crown king, but he could actually pose a threat to a great emperor like him. However, that was all. He was not an ordinary great emperor. He was very powerful. Next, he was going to use his secret technique. Buzz. He took out a black long sword and kept waving it. The sword energy was like countless worlds, sweeping in all directions. The chains around him kept shattering. Dong Yingying's expression changed drastically. What a terrifying sword technique. She fought with the other party, but in the end, the Heaven-Suppressing Lock was broken. Dong Yingying cast 2 more formations and attacked together. However, the 2 formations were also shaking and could shatter at any moment. Qin Yuntian smiled and said, "Fairy, actually I have already won. Look at my strongest sword attack." After saying that, he roared angrily. On the sword energy, light bloomed again. The power was twice as strong as before. Did the other party not use his full strength before? Countless people were shocked. Dong Yingying's expression also became ugly. However, the people of the East County residents laughed. This young man was not bad. He was a great emperor and was very powerful. He met their requirements. Boom! Just when everyone thought that the battle was over, the sky suddenly split open and a figure fell from the sky. Then, like a meteor, it fell towards Qin Yuntian. Who was it? Get lost! Qin Yuntian roared and waved his long sword, charging towards the figure. So what if you are a real meteor? You can't even block one of my attacks. Split open. Clang! The sword slashed on the figure, but it only caused an earth-shattering sound. The figure directly sent the long sword flying and then descended at an even faster speed. It directly enveloped Qin Yuntian. Qin Yuntian roared and tried to block it, but he was knocked unconscious in an instant. Boom, boom, boom. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Countless black holes pierced through. A huge pit was torn open in the entire arena. Cracks were everywhere, and even the formations were broken. Everyone was stunned. Had Qin Yuntian been killed by a meteorite from outer space? No, it was not a meteor. It was a person. Look, someone exclaimed. Everyone looked carefully and found that the black figure that fell from the sky was indeed a person. It was an incomparably handsome young man. However, this young man was also unconscious at this moment. What was going on? Who was this young man? Countless people were shocked. Even Dong Yingying was at a loss. Was the battle over? Chapter 62-58. The battle was indeed over, but it ended in a very strange way. Dong Yingying couldn't withstand the last sword strike, so she was knocked out of the arena. But then, Qin Yuntian was pushed to the ground by the figure in the sky. He lost. Then who was the victor? It was the figure that descended from the sky. Who was this person? Countless people were puzzled. Even the people from the East County mansion didn't know. They thought for a long time. In the end, they decided to give the victory to the figure that descended from the sky, because they could see that Qin Yuntian was seriously injured and couldn't recover in a short period of time. The winner was this little brother. The people from the East County mansion carried this figure and left. Countless people were in an uproar. No one had expected such a result. This figure was none other than Lin Xian. Why did he faint? It started when he entered the spatial vortex. In the 6th heaven, Lin Xian won, but he had threatened Zi Xian before. Zi Xian was naturally unhappy, but she didn't dare to do anything openly, so when Lin Xian and the others were teleported, she secretly used a little trick. She used the power of an earth immortal, and it suddenly exploded during the teleportation. Lin Xian and the others were not prepared at all, so they directly fainted. Of course, this power wouldn't threaten their lives. It would only make them faint for a period of time. It could be considered a small punishment from Zixian. After all, Zixian had lost face after being threatened by Lin Xian. This time, the teleportation was random, so Lin Xian and the other two were sent to different places in the seventh heaven. Lin Xian descended from the sky and landed on the arena. Thus, the scene from before had occurred. Then the unconscious Lin Xian was carried in by the experts from the East County mansion. Then they put on the groom's clothes. During the whole process, Lin Xian was still unconscious. The experts from the East County mansion frowned. Could it work? The great emperor-level expert from the East County mansion personally checked and said that this little guy was also a great emperor. Moreover, his breathing was very stable. He had only fainted temporarily, and it would not take long for him to wake up. Moreover, it's good that he fainted. It's convenient for us. That's right, an old man said. Ying's illness just happened to need his treatment. Just let this young man disappear without a trace. The ceremony, the marriage ceremony, and the wedding ceremony were all completed in a single day. The East Lord Manor moved very quickly, so much so that before the people from the martial arts competition left, they already had a wedding banquet. When night fell, it was the wedding night. Countless geniuses were envious. What a lucky kid. He could actually become the son-in-law of the East County mansion. That's right, a peerless beauty like Dong Ying had actually been taken advantage of by this nameless junior. What a pity. The room was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. It was very festive. Dong Ying sat there with a sorrowful expression. She looked at Lin Xian and sighed. I'm sorry, I didn't want to hurt you. She didn't know Lin Xian, and she didn't want to hurt anyone. There was a reason why they got married so quickly this time. Dong Ying had a strange disease. They couldn't find the cause, and they couldn't cure it. They only knew that Dong Ying's life was rapidly draining away, and she would die soon. However, Dong Ying was a top genius of the East County mansion. She had an extraordinary bloodline, and she had obtained the recognition of the Great Sky Divination Formation. She was a genius who could enter the Core Array Formation. If such a person died, it would be a great loss to the East County mansion. Therefore, Dong Ying couldn't die. They invited countless experts. In the end, they obtained such a method from a super great emperor. Find a partner and use some kind of secret method to live as a couple. This way, they could transfer the illness in Dong Ying's body. Dong Ying's vitality would be strengthened. Her life would be extended, and she would be able to live. Therefore, they hurriedly held the martial arts competition. No matter what, they had to let Dong Ying live. Dong Ying sighed. She didn't know why the heavens were treating her like this. At this moment, Lin Xian also opened his eyes. After opening his eyes, he was extremely angry. Damn it. Zixian actually tricked him in the end. Damn it. He wished he could kill his way back to the sixth heaven. Humph, Zixian, just you wait. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He sat up and looked around. Then he was stunned. Why did this look so much like a wedding night? He looked at himself again. His bright red clothes. He was stunned. He was married? What kind of joke was this? You're awake. At this moment, a gentle voice came from the side. Lin Xian turned his head and was stunned. He saw a beautiful woman who was also wearing red clothes. She should be the bride. How did he marry this person? Lin Xian asked, What's going on? Young master, you don't have to be afraid. Dong Ying briefly told him what had happened. Lin Xian felt extremely strange after hearing this. There was actually such a thing. That Qin Yuntian's luck was too bad. However, he couldn't marry her. Lin Xian already had a woman he loved. Sorry. Lin Xian stood up. He said, I can't marry you. Dong Ying said, I know. Seeing that Lin Xian was about to leave, she said, Wait. What's the matter? Lin Xian frowned. Dong Ying said, You can't leave now. If you leave, The family's experts will immediately capture you and suppress you. Why? Don't they care about your feelings? Lin Xian frowned. Dong Yingying sighed. After thinking for a while, she told him about her illness. Lin Xian's expression changed. There was actually such a thing. It seemed that Qin Yuntian wasn't unlucky but lucky, because if it was Qin Yuntian, he would probably have died mysteriously in the end. Why did you tell me? Don't you want to live anymore? Lin Xian asked. Dong Yingying said, I don't want to harm others, and I don't want to harm you. My own fate is determined by the heavens and cannot be forced. Lin Xian sighed. Fate determined by the heavens? Back then, his fate was also determined by the heavens, but later on he changed his fate. He looked at Dong Yingying and said, Let me take a look at your illness. Maybe there will be a chance. Dong Yingying nodded, but she didn't have much hope. In the past few years, many experts and divine doctors came to treat her, but in the end, they were all helpless. Lin Xian was just an ordinary great emperor. How could he have a way? However, she didn't say such hurtful words. Lin Xian used Rinnegan and enveloped the other party, carefully inspecting. He was stunned. Indeed, he couldn't find any problems. The other party was not injured or poisoned. But according to the other party's life was rapidly flowing away. Then why? Was it a curse? Lin Xian had encountered a curse before. It was very strange and couldn't be detected at all. However, Lin Xian had a way. He used a dragon sword qi and flew forward, enveloping Dong Yingying. If it was a curse, others couldn't see it, but the dragon sword spirit could. Chapter 62-59. The dragon's sword energy flickered, but he didn't feel any dark power. Lin Xian frowned. If it wasn't a curse, what was it? Lin Xian retracted his sword energy. You don't have to comfort me. I can already accept this result. Dong Yingying said with a smile. Although she was smiling, there were tears in her eyes. Lin Xian said, Give me a few more days. I'll help you take a look, but I can't stay here for too long. Don't worry, I'll find a chance to let you leave. But you have to wait for my signal. If you leave rashly without my help, the experts of the family will definitely catch you. Through chatting with Dong Yingying, Lin Xian learned that the East Lord Mansion was a very powerful family, and it was an array family. There were countless experts in the family, and there were a few in the imperial capital. There were even a few super great emperors. One of their ancestors was a super great emperor, and his strength was very close to an earth immortal. It could be said that he was extremely terrifying. Coupled with the peerless array in his hands, it wouldn't be a problem for him to fight against 2 or 3 super great emperors. He was definitely an unparalleled expert. Lin Xian was also surprised when he heard this. He began to ask Dong Yingying about other things. For example, how many earth immortals were there in the 7th level of heaven? He didn't ask about the longevity fruit because he didn't want to reveal his identity as an intruder for the time being. However, as long as he could find an earth immortal, he would be able to find the longevity fruit. Because the previous levels were all like this, Lin Xian's goal was to find an earth immortal. Dong Yingying said that there were indeed earth immortals in our world. He was the creator of the Array sect, and he was called the Array Immortal. It was said that half of the Array formations in our world came from the Array sect. Array sect, Array Immortal. Lin Xian's eyes flickered when he heard this. He had found his target. After leaving the East Lord Mansion, he would head to the Array sect. At the same time, he asked, did the Array formation of the East County Mansion also come from the Array sect? Dong Yingying said, part of it is, but the core is not. The core of our family is the Great Circle of Heaven formation. This array had been passed down for a long time, and its origins were mysterious. It did not originate from the Array faction. Lin Xian nodded, but he didn't think too much about it. After all, he was just a passerby. He would leave once he obtained the longevity fruit. Rest. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate silently. Now, the heavenly eagle was already at the initial stage. His speed was much faster than before. For the time being, there wouldn't be any improvement in his cultivation. He planned to cultivate his physique. He had the 9 Yang divine bodies follow-up cultivation method, and he had made a bold decision. He wanted to use the power of the 3 true flames to temper his physique. The 3 Samadhi true fire was an extremely terrifying flame. Even the earth immortals were shocked by it. It was called the immortal flame, and according to the dream god, this item could only be found in the immortal city. Once they leave, they will disappear. Since he couldn't take it away, he might as well use it for cultivation. Lin Xian felt that if he used the 3 true flames to enhance his god body, the power of his physique would not disappear. Therefore, he decided to give it a try. There are 3 flames in the purple gourd. Lin Xian prepared to absorb the first flame. Previously, the first flame had blocked an attack from the giant elephant, so the light on it was a little dimmer than the other 2. But even so, Lin Xian did not dare to absorb too much. After all, this was a power that could scare the earth immortals. Let's temper my right hand first. There are still a few decades before I leave the immortal city. Lin Xian decided to use the remaining time to temper all the bones in his body. First, he would temper his right hand. Lin Xian set up a few arrays and enveloped the surroundings. Then, he released the power of the 3 true flames. It fused into his palm. When Dong Yingying saw this scene, she originally thought that Lin Xian was guarding against her. But soon, she realized that was not the case. The reason for that was because she sensed a frightening power from the spirit formation. So terrifying. What is he using? A transcendent power. It was even more powerful than a super great emperor. This is a peerless treasure. Thinking of this, Dong Yingying quickly waved her hand and a blue ball of light flew over. She instantly set up an array and enveloped Lin Xian again. The moment Lin Xian took out the 3 true flames, all the experts in the East County Mansion sensed it. The great emperors and super great emperors all turned their heads to look into the distance. What's going on? What was that aura just now? It was so terrifying. Who was it? Did he have any treasures? They all probed. However, that mysterious feeling disappeared in an instant. However, there were still super great emperors staring into the distance. That was the place where the wedding night was. Was it Yingying? Don't probe. The strange disease in Yingying's body might be transferred in a mysterious way. It was not surprising that she could release a mysterious power. The few experts nodded and retracted their gazes. Let's discuss what to do next. The 3 super great emperors gathered together. At the same time, there were a few other great emperors. They gathered together. An old man said, "If things go well, Yingying's life will not be in danger. Next, she will continue to cultivate in the Dian Circuit array. When the time comes, we can't lose again." This array formation competition is related to the future interests of our family. If we lose, our East County Mansion will lose half of our cultivation resources. At that time, we will be removed from the top families. Our biggest enemy this time is the Han family. I heard that the top genius of the Han family, Han Qianshan, has been accepted as a personal disciple by the Grand Elder of the Array sect. This is not good news. Fortunately, our family also has a disciple in the Array sect. Let's hurry up and find him. The most important thing is to rely on Yingying. If she can obtain the true inheritance of the Dian Circuit array, then our family will have hope. The experts in the East County Mansion discussed in low voices. They began to prepare for the next array formation competition. This was a competition that concerned the fate of the family. The night retreated and the light came. When the sun rose, Lin Xian opened his eyes. Then he was stunned. The array formation around him was not his array formation. He looked at Lan Yingying. Lan Ying said that you used a super strong power yesterday, and your array formation could not withstand it at all. In order to prevent the experts of the family from investigating, I added another one outside you. Thank you. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. The power of the three true fire was beyond his expectations. This flame was very difficult to control. He had only absorbed it in the dream of the ancient times. He had never done it in reality. Now that he thought about it, he was too anxious yesterday. If not for Lan Ying's array formation, the East County Mansion would probably know that he had a supreme treasure. They would probably attack him. He could not cultivate like this in the future. The three true fire was an immortal fire. Even the land immortals were jealous. He had to be more careful when he cultivated in the future. However, if he could really use the three true fire to refine his body again, Lin Xian's 9-yang divine body would be extremely terrifying. Chapter 6260. In the next few days, Lin Xian still didn't come out. He was silently cultivating. Lan Ying thought for a while and didn't go out because the experts of the family would probably ask endless questions. It was fine for 3 or 5 days, but he hadn't come out for 10 days. The people of the East County Mansion frowned. These two young people were too crazy. Even if their bodies could hold on, they should come out to meet the elders. Some elders were very unhappy. Those young people gritted their teeth. Lan Ying was the pride of their family, the pearl of their palm. But now, a nobody had taken advantage of her. Damn it! Damn it! However, those top experts were happy. This way, it might not be long before Lan Ying's illness was transferred to the other party. For their family, it was a great thing. Therefore, they were not in a hurry at all. They waited patiently. A month later, Lin Xian finally walked out. This month of cultivation could be said to be extremely complicated. The three true fire was too terrifying. Lin Xian's right hand was injured several times. There was no other way. He couldn't withstand that terrifying power. In fact, it was very normal. When he was dreaming of the ancient times, Lin Xian also spent hundreds or thousands of years to absorb the power of the three true fire. Moreover, in the dream, he didn't have any worries at all. But in reality, he didn't have so much time to waste. However, although his right hand was injured several times, once it recovered, he could clearly feel that his physique was much stronger than before. Interesting. This method was feasible. Lin Xian was happy. After reaching the great emperor realm, it could be said that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to break through again. Some people cultivated for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years and might not be able to cultivate a second divine fire and immortal qi. Not to mention that Lin Xian cultivated the power of an immortal. His cultivation was more difficult than others. If it were anyone else cultivating, they might not be able to break through in 100,000 years. However, Lin Xian couldn't wait that long. He couldn't even wait 10,000 years, let alone 100,000 years. He wanted to break through as soon as possible. To complete this kind of breakthrough, he must have a heaven-defying opportunity. And the three true fires were a good opportunity. After a month, Lan Ying couldn't bear it anymore. She felt that it was necessary to go out. Moreover, she felt that her body was getting weaker and weaker. She estimated that she would die in a few months. Before she died, she wanted to enter the heaven divination formation again to unearth more of its secrets and record them for her family. This could be considered to be the last bit of residual energy. Lin Xian thought for a moment, then followed them out. The two of them finally came out. The people of the East Lord Mansion were getting impatient. A few days ago, they would come over every day to take a look, but after a few days, they had completely lost all hope. Forget it, out of sight, out of mind. Just treat that nameless person as if he didn't exist. However, on this day, after Lan Ying and Lin Xian came out, the entire East County Mansion was once again in an uproar. Countless young people rushed over. Lan Ying was their idol. She was the apple of their eye. Previously, they had fantasized that Lan Ying's husband must be an indomitable, peerless genius. Moreover, they had to be from a top-notch clan. Only then would they be worthy. But now, it turned out to be a nameless person. Thinking of this, they all looked at Lin Xian angrily. When they saw it, they were so angry that they started to tremble. Lin Xian was extremely handsome and had the cultivation of a great emperor. However, Lin Xian's current condition was not very good. Previously, when he was tempering his right hand, the power of the three true flames was too strong. As a result, his right hand was injured, so he was a little weak now. However, the young disciples of the East County Mansion did not know that. They thought that Lin Xian's body was weak. All of them looked down on him. Those great emperors and super great emperors also came. When they saw Lin Xian's condition, they were overjoyed. Great, he was weak. This meant that Lan Ying's illness had metastasized. How was Ying? They looked at Lan Ying again and immediately smiled. Lan Ying's condition was very good. Her face was glowing. They had succeeded. Their method had succeeded. These peerless experts were excited. Their families finally had hope again. However, they did not know that Lin Xian was not sick, and Lan Ying's condition was also faked. Lan Ying knew that she did not have much time left, so after she came out, she requested to enter the Sky Divination Formation. She also requested to bring Lin Xian with her. When this news came out, everyone in the East County Mansion was shocked. Why? Why should this nameless person enter? That's right, he was not qualified at all. A man rushed out. He was also a handsome young man. His name was Lan Lei, and he was a top genius, second only to Lan Ying. However, even he was not qualified to enter the great Yen State's Sky Town. But now, a nameless person could enter. He was not convinced. The great emperors also frowned. They discussed for a while and nodded in agreement. After all, in their opinion, Lin Xian was a person who was about to die. Although the Sky Divination Formation was their family's strongest secret. So what if a person who was about to die went in? Even if he knew the secret, he could only bring it to hell. He would not be a threat at all. Okay. The great emperors nodded in agreement. No, Elder, he's an outsider. How can he go to the core of our family? The genius disciples all exclaimed. Lan Lei even walked out and said, Elder Zhang, please reconsider. He's not an outsider. He's already married to Ying. He's one of us. The few great emperors left after leaving behind a sentence. The other genius disciples were in despair. Were they really going to let him in? Damn it, kid, if you have the guts, fight me. I'll kill you with one slap. Lan Lei walked out. The other geniuses were also filled with killing intent. However, Lan Ying said, If anyone dares to make a move, don't blame me for being impolite. At the same time, the aura of a super great emperor came from the depths of the main hall. Lan Lei and the others trembled. They knew that this was a warning from the elder. They could only leave unwillingly. However, their eyes were filled with a piercingly cold light. Brat, just you wait. Lin Xian had been silently watching all of this. He did not have a good impression of the East County Mansion. These people had already treated it as a person who was about to die. The only kind person was Lan Ying. Therefore, Lin Xian was prepared to cure Lan Ying's illness and then leave. It was fine if the others did not attack him, but if they did, he would not hold back. With Lin Xian's strength, he did not even take those great emperors seriously, let alone these young geniuses. Let's go. Lan Ying led Lin Xian towards the Sky Divination Formation. The other geniuses were very unhappy. However, there was nothing they could do. However, Lan Lei walked over. He wanted to look for his grandfather. His grandfather was also a great emperor. Chapter 62-61. Lan Lei begged bitterly, and his grandfather finally agreed to bring him there. Grandson, don't worry. I will fight for a spot for you. Lan Lei's grandfather went to the depths of the family. He finally got a spot. He was very happy. This time, the family agreed to let Lan Lei try. The Great Sky Circle Formation was at the core of the East County Mansion. This place was heavily guarded, and others could not enter at all. Only certain people could enter. When Lin Xian and Lan Yingying arrived, they were also extremely surprised. How terrifying! What a magical formation! Lin Xian's strength was extremely strong. At the same time, he had been to countless places. The heavens, the 9 serenities. He had even been to the land of destiny. He had seen countless powers. However, this Great Sky Circle Formation still shocked him. The person who set up this formation must be an incredible expert. Lin Xian even felt that it was a bit like the Heavenly Master Formation he saw in the 9 serenities. Could it really be left behind by a Heavenly Master? Lin Xian knew that Heavenly Masters were very terrifying existences. Their formations were extremely terrifying. Lin Xian had seen a Heavenly Master before, but that Heavenly Master's condition was very strange. There were also strange things happening to his body. Lin Xian knew very little about Heavenly Masters. This time he might be able to learn some secrets of Heavenly Masters. Therefore, he was looking forward to entering the formation. Just as they were about to enter the formation, a cold snort came from behind. Lin Xian turned his head. Lan Yingying was also surprised. Lan Lei, why was he here? He was not qualified. She frowned and said, "Who asked you to come?" Lan Lei held the token in his hand and said, "I have the approval of the family. The family allowed me to enter this time." As he spoke, he walked to the front. At the same time, he stared at Lin Xian and said, "Nameless person, you'd better behave yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." He did not take Lin Xian seriously at all. In his opinion, Lin Xian was nothing. So what if he was a great emperor? This was his family, his territory. A foreign great emperor, no matter how strong he was, had to bow his head. Lan Yingying frowned. "Lan Lei, be more polite. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." However, Lan Lei was extremely arrogant. The fact that he was able to enter the Heaven Divination Formation meant that he had received the approval of his clan. So what if Lan Yingying is a top genius? I am also a genius of the family. Therefore, Lan Lei's attitude became even more unbridled. He also knew about Lan Yingying's situation. He even felt that the family had done too much for Lan Yingying. This was completely unnecessary, because with his talent, he could completely replace Lan Yingying. Thinking of this, Lan Lei became even more proud. He snorted coldly. "I don't care about people who are about to die. Pah!" As soon as he finished speaking, he was slapped in the face. Everyone was stunned, including Lan Yingying, because it wasn't her. The one who did it was Lin Xian. Lin Xian stretched out his left hand and slapped Lan Lei's face. He immediately sent Lan Lei flying. This slap he only lightly waved, but the power of the 9 young divine body. How could the other party withstand it? Immediately, half of Lan Lei's body shattered, and his body turned into a bloody mist. Even his soul was injured. He let out a miserable cry that made one's scalp tingle. "For Yingying's sake, I will spare your life. However, if you dare to speak rudely to me again, I will destroy your body and soul." Lin Xian retracted his hand and said indifferently, "Damn it, how dare you hurt me? Kill him. Kill this brat for me." Lan Lei screamed crazily. At the same time, many figures appeared around the Heaven Divination Formation. They were wearing armor and holding spears. These were the guardians of the formation. No one dared to behave atrociously here, but now someone dared to make a move here. The swords in their hands were all aimed at Lin Xian. Lan Yingying cried out in alarm. She couldn't make a move. "Grandfather, save me!" Lan Lei roared. A ray of light flashed in the distance. It was an old man, Lan Lei's grandfather. His expression was extremely ugly. After checking Lan Lei's condition, he was furious. Lan Lei was severely injured. Even though his family had countless elixirs, he would not be able to recover in a short time. It would take at least a month. This way, Lan Lei would not be able to enter the Heaven Divination formation. Damn it! Damn it! Brat, you are courting death. Lan Lei's grandfather shouted coldly and stretched out his hand. He was ready to teach Lin Xian a lesson. Although he was only a great emperor with one divine fire, he had been a great emperor longer than Lan Lei. In the same realm, he could crush Lan Lei. However, this time he was destined to be wrong. Lan Lei's grandfather slapped out with his palm, which was like a divine mountain. The void shattered. Lan Yingying's expression changed. She did not expect the other party to attack directly. She wanted to stop it, but it was too late. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He clenched his left hand into a fist and punched the sky. Boom! Golden light bloomed, and it was incomparably dazzling. The surrounding experts in armor felt their blood boil. They kept retreating with blood flowing out of their 7 orifices. They were no match for great emperors. Fortunately, they were from a family that specialized in formations. At this moment, countless formations flickered and surged this power into the sky. Are you all right? Lan Yingying hurried to Lin Xian's side. Lin Xian had already retracted his palm. He said, "It's nothing. It's just a piece of trash. It's not a threat to me at all." Trash? Lan Yingying was stunned. The others were also dumbfounded. The person who attacked was a great emperor. This was Lan Lei's grandfather, the 7th elder of their East County mansion, who dared to call him trash. At this moment, a scream came from the front. It was the 7th elder. The 7th elder was stunned. He originally wanted to teach this arrogant kid a lesson. However, as soon as they exchanged blows, he knew what regret was. The other party's fist was extremely ordinary, but it was extremely terrifying. This punch directly pierced through his palm. Not only that, but one of his arms was also shattered. This terrifying fist wind directly impacted his internal organs. He was injured, and it was a serious injury. How was this possible? The 7th elder could not believe it. He let out an angry roar. Lin Xian glanced at him, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. "If you attack me again, I can guarantee that you will be a dead man in the next second." Lin Xian did not say much, but his words were extremely sharp. Everyone's eyelids twitched. This guy really defeated the 7th elder. What was going on with this young man? His strength was too strong. Lan Yingying was also shocked. Previously, she was not familiar with Lin Xian. Over the past month, she only saw Lin Xian silently cultivating. Moreover, his cultivation progress was not very good. His right hand was injured. In her opinion, even if the other party was powerful, he was only a young genius. He could not be compared to the older generation of great emperors. But now, she realized that she was wrong. The young man in front of her was too powerful. He injured their elder with a single punch. Moreover, the other party's expression when he spoke was as if he was the ruler of the world. He did not take the great emperors seriously at all. Chapter 62-62. Lan Yingying had seen such an aura from a super great emperor before. However, it was now being displayed by Lin Xian. It was unbelievable. The 7th elder had gone mad. How dare Su Mo threaten him? He had been careless. In the next moment, he roared angrily and his broken body recovered. He said, "Kid, you're courting death." He dashed over in a frenzy. Seeing this, Lan Lei's heart was filled with malevolence. "Kill him. Grandpa, kill him quickly." He was shocked that his grandpa had been injured. However, he soon shook his head and sneered. In his opinion, his grandpa had been careless. That must be it. At this moment, the 7th elder's aura was majestic and he was filled with killing intent. It was as if he had turned into the god of death. Lin Xian's face darkened. He had already warned the seventh elder, but the seventh elder still dared to attack him. Since that was the case, Su Mo felt that it was necessary to show his strength. He would use the seventh elder as an example to intimidate the East Lord Mansion. Otherwise, these people would think that he was a pushover. Lin Xian's face turned cold when he thought of this. In the next moment, a ray of sword qi appeared in his left hand, and he slashed forward. Boom! The slash was terrifying, and it was as fast as lightning. It could not be described with words. The sword radiance flashed, and the void split into two. The seventh elder, who was flying in the air, stopped. A crack appeared in between his eyebrows, and he turned into a bloody mist. His body and soul were destroyed. He did not even have time to scream. Boom! As the bloody mist filled the air, the array around him kept shaking. Some of the arrays cracked, and a terrifying ray of bloody light shot into the sky. At the same time, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and blood rain fell as if it had turned into a sea of blood. The death of a great emperor and the strange phenomenon of heaven and earth was the same in every world. What happened? Everyone was stunned. The guards who were guarding the array around them started to tremble. They were so frightened that they knelt on the ground. They could not resist the blood of a great emperor. Lan Yingying was dumbfounded. He was dead. The seventh elder had died in front of her. That was impossible. To be honest, she was furious when the seventh elder attacked. She was surprised that the seventh elder was injured, but he would not die. Do you know how difficult it is to kill a great emperor? It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Even great emperors of the same level would not die unless they were surrounded by a few great emperors. But now, Lin Xian had slain a great emperor with just a simple swing of his sword. It was simply a fantasy. Grandpa, Lan Lei was even more dumbfounded. He was so scared that he fainted. He couldn't help but feel dizzy. His grandfather was a godlike existence in his heart. There was no enemy that his grandfather couldn't deal with and no expert that his grandfather couldn't defeat. But now his grandfather had been killed instantly as if he was a vegetable. The fact that he was not scared to death was already a blessing in disguise. Boom! Boom! Not to mention the core area, the entire East County Mansion was stunned. Even the countless clans and sects in this space were stunned. They raised their heads to look at the sky. A rain of blood drifted down and heaven and earth rumbled. This was a sign that the great earth had fallen. Had a great emperor fallen? These people started counting with their fingers. How many tens of thousands of years had it been since a great emperor had fallen? Although the battle between the top clans was incomparably intense, no great emperor had ever fallen. The few peerless experts of the East County Mansion were stunned at first. Then they quickly rushed over. Who dared to kill their great emperor? And it was in the core area. Had the experts of the Frost race come? Damn it, was the Frost race crazy? How dare they behave so atrociously in their core area? At the same time, they were puzzled. How did the other party get over? Even the super great emperors were alarmed. They tore open the void and came to the core area. Who did it? Where were the people of the Frost race? Come and die. As they spoke, the experts worked together to form a formation. They sealed the entire world. Now, even a super great emperor couldn't leave. After sealing the space, they looked around, but they were stunned. They didn't see the experts of the Frost race at all. What's going on? Who did it? At this moment, Lan Lei. He was awakened by the aura of a super great emperor. He immediately knelt on the ground and said, "Elder, help my grandfather and avenge my grandfather. Kill this kid. He killed my grandfather." As he spoke, he pointed at Lin Xian and roared crazily. What? These peerless experts were stunned. You said that this kid did it? They all looked at Lin Xian in a daze. Impossible. However, the armored warriors also nodded. Everyone pointed at Lin Xian. The peerless experts were stunned. For the first time, they carefully sized up Lin Xian. To be honest, They really didn't think that Lin Xian was that powerful. He wasn't the only young great emperor. Wasn't Qin Yuntian the same? The other participants were also young great emperors. Some of these great emperors were unparalleled in talent, and some were nurtured with pills. However, no matter how strong they were no match for the older generation. There were also strong and weak great emperors. Some great emperors could even stay in this realm for hundreds of thousands of years. The seventh elder had stayed in this realm for tens of thousands of years. His strength was terrifying. He was definitely not someone those young people could compare to. You did it, a peerless great emperor asked. He was the third elder. That's right, I did it. I already warned him, but he still wanted to kill me. Since that's the case, I'll send him to hell. Lin Xian said calmly. He didn't deny it. He didn't think that killing a great emperor was something unbelievable. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. The peerless great emperor's expressions changed. Even if they killed a great emperor, they wouldn't be so calm. You killed a great emperor, a peerless expert. He was someone who could live forever. Do you think you killed an ant? Why did you kill him? Another peerless great emperor spoke. He was the second elder. It was very simple. He killed him with a light wave. One had to admit that he was too weak. Lin Xian shrugged. Everyone was shocked. He killed him with a light wave. He killed him with a single slash. Everyone was stunned. That was indeed the case. Lan Yingying sighed. She still felt like she was in a dream. The peerless great emperors were even more stunned. He killed a great emperor with a single slash. This kid must be a peerless great emperor. However, they carefully checked Lin Xian's cultivation. He was just an ordinary great emperor. Heavens, this is a monster, right? What kind of person did they provoke to come in? The peerless experts of the East County residents felt their hearts turn cold. Why did they feel like they had invited a wolf into their house? Humph! The third elder snorted. You dare to kill our great emperor. Do you know the consequences? You're dead. Lan Lei roared. There were two peerless great emperors here. Lin Xian would definitely die. Buzz. Lin Xian didn't reply. He directly attacked and killed Lan Lei. Pooh. Lan Lei died. Even until his death, he couldn't believe that Lin Xian dared to attack him. Chapter 62-63. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. The super great emperors could not believe it. This guy killed one of their top prodigies in front of them. He was too audacious. Are you crazy? Do you think we don't dare to kill you? The third elder's face darkened, and his body released a biting, cold, murderous intent. The second elder beside him also snorted coldly and stared at the other party. Both of them were super great emperors. No matter how strong the other party was, would he be able to withstand the two of them together? The answer was definitely no. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Try me if you want to. He did not have a good impression of these people. They all thought that he was about to die. Fine, I'll see what you're capable of. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The power of the two divine fires spread out from the third elder's body. The battle was about to break out. In everyone's opinion, Lin Xian was dead meat. Lan Yingying exclaimed and stood in front of Lin Xian. However, it did not seem to be of much use. At that moment, an old voice came from the great sky divination formation. Everyone, stop and let them in. Everyone was stunned when they heard the voice. Even the third elder's body trembled. His face was filled with disbelief. What? Are my words useless now? The old voice came again. This time, it seemed to be mixed with a supreme power. It sounded like thousands of claps of thunder. Everyone's body trembled. Even the third elder's scalp went numb. That was the voice of the prefecture ancestor. Everyone was extremely shocked. There was a super great emperor in their family. He was very terrifying. He was close to an earth immortal. He was the prefecture lord of the East County Prefecture. However, the prefecture lord usually cultivated in the great sky divination formation. Sometimes he would not say a word for thousands of years. As a result, he often forgot about the prefecture lord's existence. However, they did not expect the prefecture lord to speak at this critical moment. What was even more shocking was that the prefecture lord was actually helping this nameless person. It was unbelievable. Although the third elder was angry, he did not dare to act presumptuously. He could only glare coldly at Lin Xian, then stand in the distance without saying a word. Lan Yingying heaved a sigh of relief. She pulled Lin Xian's hand and quickly entered the stellar derivation array. The formation flickered and enveloped the two of them. After entering the array formation, Lin Xian was also surprised. The voice belonged to a peerless expert. He could tell that the other party's strength far surpassed the third elder's. Lin Xian wasn't nervous about the third elder. Although the other party was a super great emperor, he wasn't a great emperor. However, compared to Emperor Xingyao and the land of Cangqing, they were still lacking. Lin Xian had even killed great Emperor Xingyao, let alone the third elder. He didn't care about them at all. However, the strength of the voice that spoke earlier was very strong. It was most likely stronger than great Emperor Xingyao. This immortal city was truly terrifying with countless experts. Gradually, Lin Xian was also deeply moved by the wonders of this array formation. The array was mysterious. After entering, it was as if they had entered a magical world. This feeling was like a dream back to ancient times. Magical, it was really magical. This was most likely an array formation left behind by a land of immortals. Old ancestor. It wasn't Lan Yingying's first time here. She was familiar with the place and led Lin Xian forward. Soon, she exclaimed, an old man appeared in front of them. He had a benevolent look. He was the mansion master of the East Lord Mansion. He was also the person who spoke earlier. Greetings, senior. Lin Xian looked at the other party and bowed. The old man looked at Lin Xian and was slightly surprised. The power in your body is very special. I have never seen it before. The difference could be seen from this. The third elder and the others only knew that Lin Xian was an ordinary, great emperor. However, this old man instantly saw that Lin Xian was extraordinary. It was indeed a little different. Lin Xian nodded and said, other than the power in your body being different, your aura is also different. It feels like you came from the outside. The old man calculated with his fingers. Then he said doubtfully, are you an intruder? Lan Yingying was stunned. Old ancestor who is an intruder. Lin Xian was also surprised that the old man knew about the intruder. This old man's power was a little terrifying. One had to know that most land of immortals knew about the intruder. Of course, the people of the first heaven were an exception. They also knew about the Red Flame Army in the first heaven. However, other than the first heaven, the great emperors of the other heavens didn't know about the intruder. Lin Xian didn't hide the fact that he was discovered by the old man. He nodded and said, that's right. I am the intruder. Senior, do you know where the longevity fruit is? What is the longevity fruit? Lan Yingying was confused. Why did she feel that she didn't understand? Were the two of them talking in riddles? You are indeed the intruder. The old man sighed. He didn't expect that there would be an intruder. Young man, take a seat. The old man waved his hand and a pavilion appeared around them. Lin Xian also knew how to use these methods. They were formed by the power of the laws. After Lin Xian sat down, the old man sighed. I once found some information in the great sky divination array. It said that there were intruders. These intruders were different from our world. They came from the outer space. These intruders were very powerful. However, they seemed to be looking for the longevity fruit. At first, I was confused. What is the longevity fruit? I have never heard of it. However, I later found out that the longevity fruit they were talking about was actually the immortal fruit. The immortal fruit! Lan Yingying exclaimed. Could it be the legendary divine fruit? Obviously, he had never heard of the longevity fruit. However, he knew about the immortal fruit. Lin Xian was surprised. It seemed that the longevity fruit had another name. Senior, do you know where the longevity fruit is? Yes. The old man nodded. Lin Xian was delighted. He stood up and said seriously, Senior, please tell me. Senior, if you have any conditions, please tell me. I will definitely do it. Moreover, I will do my best to cure Ying's illness. The longevity fruit you mentioned is in the Great Sky Divination Array. There are a total of 3 of them. The old man did not hide anything. Lin Xian was stunned. It was fewer than he had expected. However, it was already very rare. After all, the 7th heaven was different from the previous ones. The situation here was much more complicated. It was very troublesome to find an earth immortal. It was very lucky for him to find 3 longevity fruits. Lan Ying was also stunned. There were immortal fruits in the Great Sky Divination Array. These were the legendary divine fruits. How come she had never heard of them in her family? The old man said, Don't be happy too early. The 3 longevity fruits are here. Even I can't get them. They are in the deepest part of the array. If you want to get them, you have to go to the deepest part of the array. However, even I can't enter. I'm afraid that other than Earth Immortals, no one else can enter. Chapter 62-64. There is actually such a thing. Lin Xian was extremely surprised. However, he still said, Senior, please bring me there. I'm willing to try. All right, no problem. The old man waved his sleeve and led the way. After walking for a while, the old man stopped. Even with the efforts of the past generations of the East Lord Manor, we can only reach this point. If we take another step forward, we'll probably be reduced to ashes. The longevity fruits you mentioned are just ahead. You can't see them now, but you can wait. There will be a full moon in 3 days. At that time, the array will change. You should be able to clearly see where the 3 longevity fruits are. There was such a thing. Lan Ying was surprised. She really didn't know about it. However, this secret was probably only known to the patriarch. After all, he had been here for tens of thousands of years and had never left. Lin Xian waited. 3 days later, there was a full moon. As expected, the array was erratic. Suddenly, there was light in front of them. They could clearly see the fruits floating in front of them. It was the longevity fruits. Lin Xian was overjoyed. Since he had discovered them, he had to think of a way to take the 3 longevity fruits away. After all, this concerned the lives of the 3 great emperors of the divine realm. Although he could kill great emperors like cutting vegetables, they were extremely rare. Even the divine realm didn't have many of them. The death of one was a heavy loss. Lin Xian waved his hand and a sword qi flew forward. However, the stellar evolution array was activated and directly tore the sword qi apart. Lin Xian was shocked. His sword was so sharp, but it still couldn't pass. This was enough to show how terrifying the stellar evolution array was. Useless kid, I've been here for tens of thousands of years and still can't advance. Unless I break through and become a terrestrial immortal. As for you, it's even more impossible. Although you can fight above your level, you're still too weak compared to a terrestrial immortal. Beside him camped Blueside. Indeed, no matter how strong Lin Xian was, he couldn't pass it. No one understood the terror of the stellar evolution array better than their family. The power of a terrestrial immortal. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. To be honest, he did have it. He had the 3 true fire. Could it be that he had to use the 3 true fire to take the 3 longevity fruits? To be honest, it was a bit of a waste. After all, the 3 primordial fires were consumables. Once they were used up, there would be no more. And now, it was only the 7th layer of heaven. Lin Xian still needed to head to the 9th heaven to find the immortal token. At that time, he would definitely meet a land immortal. There might even be a great war. It was a little too early to use it now. Just as Lin Xian was feeling conflicted, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Who was it? He growled and turned around abruptly. However, there was only Lan Yingying behind him. Little guy, what's wrong with you? The old man beside him also frowned. Lin Xian was stunned. He asked, Senior, did you not sense it? Someone's eyes were on me just now. Someone? The old man frowned. He squinted his eyes, and his soul covered the entire area. He then shook his head slightly. Apart from the three of us, there is no one else here. No one from the family would come in. Even if they did, I would know immediately. No, it was not someone from the East County Mansion. Lin Xian did not care about the super great emperor of the East County Mansion. But just now, the pair of eyes made his hair stand on end, and the blood in his body almost froze. Only a land immortal could pose such a threat to him. Could it be that there was a land immortal here? Lin Xian was a little confused. Taking a deep breath, he turned his head and looked at the longevity fruit in front of him again. He continued to think of a way, but at this time he felt like he was being watched again. Humph! He suddenly turned around. At the same time, he saw a figure slowly disappear. Lin Xian used the heavenly eagle movement technique. His speed was extremely fast as he directly rushed over, but he still found nothing. The old man beside him was surprised. What a fast speed! The other party's speed was not inferior to that of a super great emperor. It was really surprising. This little guy was really a peerless genius. Lin Xian was not happy at all. He realized that there was really someone here. It was not an illusion. He opened his Rinnegan. Lin Xian looked around. The power of the 6 paths of reincarnation was everywhere. Sensing this scene, the old man's eyelids twitched violently again. This power was too terrifying. This little guy seemed to have countless treasures on him. Were the intruders outside also terrifying? However, he did not have the intention to kill him and steal his treasures, because the old man had spent his entire life on array formations. Come out, I see you. Lin Xian shouted coldly, but there was still no response. This made him frown. He looked at the old man and said, Senior, you have been here for tens of thousands of years. Don't you notice anything? I suspect that there is a land immortal here. Don't talk nonsense. The old man was shocked. He was the mansion master of the East Lord Manor, a super great emperor who was almost close to a land immortal. But at this moment his hair stood on end. What a joke! If there was a land immortal here, why had he never sensed it? What exactly did you see? The old man asked. A person mysterious and unfathomable, but it looked like an afterimage. After saying that, Lin Xian turned around and looked around again, but in the next moment his hair stood on end, because he found that the figure had arrived behind him. When he turned around, his eyes met the other party's. At that moment, Lin Xian felt that his soul had flown away. He was so scared that he suddenly retreated and distanced himself. Was it a human or a ghost? Lin Xian's sword energy soared into the sky, and his Rinnegan bloomed. This time, he did not dare to be careless and was ready to attack at any time. The figure in front of him did not escape, nor did he have the intention to attack. He just stood there. You can't see? Lin Xian was stunned because the old man and Lan Yingying next to him looked confused. They didn't see anything. The old man shook his head. Lan Yingying also said, Lin Gongzi, is there really someone here? Lin Xian was speechless. Yes, it was right in front of him. And it was very strange and terrifying. Why was he the only one who could see it? Was it because he had the Rinnegan? Or was it because he was an intruder? Lin Xian didn't know, but he looked forward and asked, Senior, who is it? The mysterious figure in front of him did not answer. Lin Xian activated the great dragon sword soul and walked forward boldly. When he took a closer look, he was stunned. There seemed to be some red phantoms on the other party's body, but they were very short. He seemed to have seen this scene before. Suddenly, he remembered the situation in the 9th Serenity. He exclaimed, Are you a heavenly master? Buzz. The mysterious figure in front of him was no longer silent. He suddenly raised his head, and two rays of light burst out from his eyes. Like lightning, they pierced through the sky. At this moment, the entire heavenly cycle array began to rotate. Although the old man and Lan Yingyin could not see the figure, they were also shocked when they saw the array rotating. The array had changed. There had never been such a change before. Lin Xian was even more shocked. This was really a heavenly master, and an extremely terrifying one. Could this be the master of the heavenly cycle array? Chapter 62-65 Heavenly Master. The mysterious figure repeated these two words. His voice was like the beginning of chaos, abnormally terrifying. After Lin Xian heard this, his soul shook. He was too shocked. What kind of strength did this person reach? Was he a super great emperor, or an earth immortal? He couldn't tell. What was a heavenly master? You are a heavenly master. Senior, you are a heavenly master. I am a heavenly master. A hint of confusion appeared in the mysterious figure's eyes. Then his eyes lit up. My name is Zhou Tianshi. Yes, that's right, I am Zhou Tianshi. The mysterious figure continued to speak, but the same sentence was repeated over and over again. Other than knowing that he was called Zhou Tianshi, he didn't know anything else. Zhou Tianshi. Lin Xian was shocked. What an unexpected discovery. He continued, Senior Zhou, is this Great Sky Divination Formation your formation? Great Sky Divination Array. What a familiar name. The mysterious figure continued to be at a loss. In the next moment, he actually floated forward. Senior. Lin Xian's figure flashed and chased after him. Don't go over. Behind him, Lan Yingyin exclaimed. The old man also sighed. He wanted to stop him, but it was too late. He didn't dare to go forward. If he took another step forward, he would be turned into ashes. Lin Xian felt a powerful force that wanted to tear him to pieces. He roared, and the great dragon sword soul revolved around his body. He seemed to have turned into a peerless divine sword. Clang! 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 The power of the array hit his body, erupting into countless flames. Lin Xian's qi and blood rolled, and he spat out blood. He couldn't hold on any longer. Lin Xian was about to use the power of the three true flames to block, but at this time Zhou Tianshi waved his hand and grabbed Lin Xian. Then he brought him to his side. In the next moment, the threat of the array disappeared. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. This great sky divination array was definitely Zhou Tianshi's. Otherwise, why would he be able to walk here as if it was flat ground? Nothing happened. It was really great. Lan Yingyin heaved a sigh of relief. The old man was also shocked. The array formation that could threaten his life was actually unable to threaten Lin Xian. It was too inconceivable. This young man was too mysterious. However, he also discovered some problems. The other party had said that there was someone, but he didn't see it. However, just now, the other party seemed to have been taken away by a mysterious force. It was as if someone had grabbed him. From the looks of it, there really was a mysterious person here. But why was he the only one who could see it? He couldn't understand. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was ecstatic. He said, Senior, can you take me inside? If he followed the mysterious man, he might be able to get 3 longevity fruits. However, that mysterious person stood there, stunned once again. He repeatedly said, I'm the Heavenly Cycle Master. I'm the Heavenly Cycle Master. No, he had to think of a way to wake him up. Lin Xian realized that Zhou Tianshi's condition wasn't very good. He didn't even know if this was a person or a soul. It couldn't be helped. The other party's cultivation level was too high, so high that Lin Xian couldn't detect it. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian used his Rinnegan to cover the front, wanting to investigate. However, just as he got close to Zhou Tianshi, he was bounced back. The power of the soul couldn't get close at all. No, Lin Xian frowned and pondered. He thought for an entire day, but he couldn't think of a way. However, at this moment he was stunned. The reason for that was because he discovered that there was a bracelet on Zhou Tianshir's right wrist. That bracelet was carved out of numerous sparkling and translucent jades. This wasn't an ordinary jade. It was definitely a top-grade heaven and earth treasure. There were very mysterious patterns on it. It should be a super array formation. However, Lin Xian felt that it was incomplete. Moreover, he vaguely felt that he had seen this kind of jade somewhere before. After thinking for a long time, Lin Xian finally remembered. It was in the ancient land. That's right, it was the sword in his body. It was the sword world. The sword world in Lin Xian's body was one of the Zhou Tianshidi. Although it was broken, it was still incomparably mysterious. The reason why he didn't think of it immediately was because he didn't see the jade, but the mysterious pattern on the jade. Lin Xian saw this pattern in the ancient land's Sun Valley. Moreover, this pattern was hundreds of times larger than the one on the jade. It was carved on a huge mountain peak. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't think of it at first. Now that he thought about it, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be that Zhou Tianshir had been to the ancient land? He had set up an array formation in the Sun Valley. Why did he come to the Immortal City? And why did he become like this? Was all of this a mystery? If Zhou Tianshir was awake, he should have told him. But now he couldn't. Lin Xian could only guess. After thinking about it, Lin Xian still couldn't understand. In the end, he made a decision. Lin Xian sent a sound transmission to Little White, asking Little White to search inside the sword world. Now that he was in the Immortal City, Lin Xian didn't dare to rashly open the sword world. He also didn't dare to enter. Who knew what would happen? Unless it was a matter of life and death, he would only enter. However, there was no problem with sending a sound transmission to Little White. After hearing this, Little White immediately headed to the Sun Valley. The Sun Valley was still incomparably terrifying. After Little White arrived nearby, he didn't dare to enter. He wandered around, not knowing what Lin Xian wanted him to bring. Therefore, he took out a huge scroll, imprinted the entire scene around the Sun Valley, and then threw it out of the sword world. Lin Xian received the scroll and opened it to take a look. Indeed, it was the scene around the Sun Valley. However, at this moment, the situation changed. The scroll quickly petrified and finally formed a picture of a stone. Lin Xian was stunned. As expected, he couldn't come out. Previously, he didn't dare to let Little White out, afraid that something would happen in the Immortal City. From the looks of it, it was really dangerous. The things that came out would actually petrify and turn into stone. This should be the power of the Immortal City. These intruders were allowed to enter by the Immortal City. Other than that, those who entered without permission would probably be petrified immediately. Lin Xian recalled the conversation between Lord Alcohol, Lin Zhan, and the others before he came. Whichever side failed, that side's land immortal would be punished. It seemed that one of the consequences of the punishment was that the land immortal would be petrified. Back then, the war god's body was petrified because of his failure. The Immortal City was too strange. Lin Xian carefully looked at the stone pattern. He discovered some problems. In the Sun Valley, there was indeed a mysterious pattern, the same as the pattern on the Heavenly Cycle Master's bracelet. However, there were still some differences. The Sun Valley seemed to be more complete. Would it be effective to find the missing pattern on the Heavenly Cycle Master's bracelet? Lin Xian continued to transmit his voice to Little White, asking him to spread the entire situation of the Sun Valley. Chapter 62-66. Outside the great universal town, countless people were waiting. They were all experts from the East Lord Manor. Among them, the second elder and the third elder were there. They frowned. That kid had been in there for so long, but he hadn't been chased out. Could it be that he had been acknowledged by the formation? Damn it. How did an outsider like him do it? Many people gritted their teeth. Even the geniuses had ugly looks on their faces. There were two difficulties in entering the Great Universal Town formation. The first was to be acknowledged by the family. Only the top geniuses could enter. Even so, there were very few people who could stay in the Great Universal Town formation. Otherwise, Lan Yingying wouldn't have been so important. This was because the second difficulty was involved. That was to be acknowledged by the Great Universal Town formation. Some of the geniuses had been in there before, but soon they were scared out. Even the second elder and the third elder, the two super great emperors, had been in there before. They came out very quickly because it was extremely uncomfortable to stay in there. It could even make them feel cold all over, as if they were facing a great enemy. They knew that the formation was rejecting them. Even with their super great emperor's cultivation, they couldn't resist it, so they could only come out. If Lin Xian knew, he would know that it was because of the Great Universal Town Master. The Great Universal Town Master did exist in the formation. Being targeted by him was absolutely terrifying. However, the experts from the East Lord Manor couldn't see the Great Universal Town Master and thought that it was the power of the formation. So they were scared half to death. Currently, there were only two people who could stay in the Great Universal Town formation. One was the Lord of the East Lord Manor, and the other was Lan Yingying. The only one among the younger generation was extremely important. But now there was one more, and that was Lin Xian. Lin Xian had been in there for so long and hadn't come out. It was possible that he had been acknowledged by the formation. This made the others go crazy with jealousy. The people from the East Lord Manor were shocked. Outside the East Lord Manor, there was an uproar. The fall of a great emperor would definitely cause unexpected changes. At the same time, a few pieces of news were secretly spread out in the East Lord Manor. The Ice family. This was also a top family, not weaker than the East Lord Manor. It was also a family that specialized in formations. Within the Icy family, there was a tall man wearing blue battle armor. He was extraordinarily mighty, like a peerless god of war. He was the chief of the Frigid Ice clan, and his name was Han Wu. At this moment, there were two figures kneeling in front of him. They were two illusory figures dressed in black, revealing only their eyes. Is the news true? The patriarch of the Frigid Ice family asked. As he spoke, cold air filled the air. He was also a super great emperor, and his strength was extremely terrifying. Reporting to family head, the news is true. The one who died is the seventh elder of the East Lord Manor. Not only him, even his grandson, Lan Lei, was killed, but his subordinates did not know who did it. It seemed to have happened in the core area. At that time, there were only a few people present. The black-clothed man in front of him was a spy sent by the Frigid Ice family to the East Monarch Mansion. After all, the Ice family and the East County had been fighting for tens of thousands of years. The two sides were like fire and water. Great, this is really great. Han Wu laughed. The East County Prefecture had lost a great emperor, so their strength had been severely damaged. They had to win the next array competition. You should go back and continue to investigate. Find out why the elder died. Who did it? He waved his hand, and the black-clothed man in front of him disappeared. The patriarch of the Ice family's eyes flashed. It would be best if they fought in the East Lord Manor. This way, the East Lord Manor would be finished without him doing anything. He told the other members of the family not to go out and focus on preparing their ray. According to the current situation, as long as they did not have any problems, they would be able to win. Not only the Ice family, but the other families were also investigating what had happened in the East Lord Manor. At the same time, a huge figure also received the news. That was the Array faction. The Array faction was the absolute overlord here. Its strength and status were above the East Lord Manor and the Ice family. To be precise, the Array competition was organized by the Array faction. It allowed the two families to fight and then redistribute the resources here. Why was the Array faction so powerful? Because there was an Earth immortal here, the Array immortal. Legend had it that half of the arrays in this world came from the Array faction. One could imagine how terrifying the Array faction was. Now, the Array faction also received the news of the great Emperor's death. The elders were all shocked. The East Lord Manor was probably going to lose this time. The geniuses of the East County Prefecture, who were cultivating in the Array faction, all asked the elders for leave and prepared to return to their families to investigate what had happened to their families. The elders discussed whether they should tell the Array faction immortal about this. The great elder snorted coldly. Stupid. It was only the death of a great emperor. It was not enough to alarm the Array faction immortal. No one dared to disturb the Array faction immortal. In the depths of the Array faction, there was a white jade palace. The Array faction immortal was standing in the white jade palace. Her eyes flashed as she looked into the distance. She was very beautiful, incomparably beautiful, but at this moment her beautiful face was covered with ice. Countless arrays flashed around her. They were like golden lotuses of the great Tao, mysterious, but she did not care at all. Her gaze seemed to pierce through everything in the world and looked into the distance. The sky divination array shook just now. What was going on? It released the true power of the array. Did someone activate the sky divination array? The Array faction immortal was shocked. She found it unbelievable. What was going on? She waved her hand and the void split open. A figure walked out. It was a middle-aged man with the cultivation of a great emperor. He was wearing the clan uniform of the East Lord Manor. He was from the East Lord Manor and was the 6th elder of the East Lord Manor. The 6th elder told the Array faction immortal everything that had happened. He did not miss any details. A nameless person? No, he could not have caused the array to change. There must be something else. The Array faction immortal frowned. The 6th elder said, I deserve to die. I can't enter the sky divination array. Go back. Don't let anyone else find out. The 6th elder left. Other than the Array faction immortal, no one knew that the high and mighty great emperor was actually a spy. The Array faction immortal's face was extremely serious. Old thing, are you still alive? Thinking of this possibility, a cold, murderous intent appeared in her eyes. Suddenly, the world collapsed and endless black holes appeared. Old thing, I didn't expect you to have a trick up your sleeve. Why didn't you give me the sky divination array? Why didn't you die completely? In the next moment, she waved her hand. Over 100 formations formed around her. Suddenly, a voice was transmitted into these arrays. Attack the sky divination array. Chapter 62-67 East Lord Mansion. Heavenly Evolution Formation. Outside, countless people were waiting. Inside, Lin Xian was extremely happy. There were a few more patterns in front of him. These were all thrown out by Xiao Bai from the Sword World. As soon as they came out, they were immediately petrified. However, it didn't matter. Lin Xian could still see the patterns clearly. At this moment, beside him, there were 9 stone diagrams with different patterns on them. 5 of them were the same as the jade patterns on the Heavenly Master's bracelet. He had never seen the other 4 before. Lin Xian guessed that these should be the 4 missing patterns on the bracelet. Lin Xian showed the 4 patterns to the Heavenly Master. After the Heavenly Master saw it, his body trembled, and a shocking light appeared in his eyes. Buzz, buzz, buzz. His bracelet also flickered and swayed. It turned out to be like this. How could this be? The Heavenly Master kept muttering to himself. Not long after, tears flickered in his eyes. The Heavenly Master cried. Lin Xian was stunned, but he did not disturb him. Instead, he stood there quietly and waited. Behind him, the Patriarch of the East County and Liaoning were even more dumbfounded. They could not see the Heavenly Master, but they could see Lin Xian. They just did not understand what Lin Xian was doing. Just like that, a day passed. The Heavenly Master seemed to be in a dilemma, but Lin Xian was very patient. He knew that the Heavenly Master must have thought of something. Boom! At this moment, an explosion sounded. The sky and earth spun. An entire formation shook violently. What was going on? Lin Xian was stunned. He looked behind him. The East Lord Mansion Chief exclaimed. Someone was attacking the formation. Lan Yingying said, "That's impossible. Who is it? Could it be someone from the family?" Was he crazy? Outside the formation, the people of the East Lord Mansion were also stunned because they also felt the formation shaking violently. Who was it? Did they not want to live anymore? The second elder roared angrily. Countless spatial cracks appeared in the surroundings, and figures walked out from them one after another. These people were wearing black armor, and only a pair of eyes could be seen. They were mysterious and powerful. After they appeared, they sneered and charged madly at the heavenly divination formation. Boom! Boom! A world-shaking sound rang out. The heavens fell, and the earth cracked as the two forces collided. The entire void was boiling. Some of the East Lord Mansion's cultivators did not manage to dodge in time and were instantly torn to pieces. Blood rained down. The other elders felt their scalps go numb. Retreat! Retreat quickly. Activate the formation. The two super great emperors roared and extended their hands to protect the disciples of their families. At the same time, the two of them roared. Divine flames erupted from their bodies, engulfing their surroundings. The East County was indeed a top-notch family. After the initial panic and injury, they immediately counterattacked. The disciples and experts all retreated. At the same time, one formation after another was activated to kill the enemy. Hundreds of formations flickered with light, enveloping heaven and earth. The two super great emperors roared. "Who are you?" The black-armored men only sneered and continued to attack. The third elder frowned. Could it be that they were from the icy ice family? Were they crazy? The second elder said that no matter who it was, they should all be killed, and not a single one should be left alive. They began to move out in a frenzy. The people who came were also mysterious and terrifying. They counterattacked. They shattered the entire world. However, they were fighting away from home after all, and their numbers were not as good as the East County Mansions. The experts of the East County Mansion were about to surround and kill these people. However, at this moment, dozens of formations rushed out of the black-armored men's bodies and swept across the world. They were like the sun and lightning, drowning the surroundings. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the experts of the East County Mansion were sent flying. They vomited large mouthfuls of blood. Formations, and they were super terrifying formations. Who exactly were these people? Why did they have such terrifying formations? Humph! The leader of the black-armored men sneered. With a wave of his hand, dozens of formations rushed out. There were defensive formations and offensive formations. This time, their target was not the East County Mansion, but the Great Sky Expansion Formation. Dozens of offensive array formations rushed toward the stellar divination array in an earth-shattering manner. The Great Sky Expansion Formation shook violently. They were courting death. Protect! The two super great emperors roared. The eyes of the people of the East County Mansion also turned red. The foundation of their family was the Great Sky Expansion Formation. They would not allow anyone to destroy it. Lan and Yingying, who were inside the formation, were also dumbfounded. A violent aura came from outside. It was definitely not an attack from one or two people. Someone was attacking on a large scale. Who was it? Did they eat the guts of a leopard? The East Lord's face was also cold. Previously, he thought that it was the Ice family, but now it seemed that was not the case. The Ice family did not have such terrifying means, right? He snorted coldly and waved his hands, using some of the power of the formation. He had stayed in the Great Sky Expansion Formation for tens of thousands of years, so he could use some methods. The Great Sky Expansion Formation changed unpredictably. Some of its power appeared and attacked. Don't worry, there was no problem. This formation was extremely mysterious. No matter who came, they would definitely die. The Lord had absolute confidence. This formation was indeed too mysterious. It could even be said that their family was built around this formation. That's right. The first-generation ancestor of their family discovered this formation by chance. He was shocked and immediately established a family around this formation. After countless years of development, it formed the current East County Mansion. Did they block it? Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. He had just reminded Zhou Tianchi of something, but he did not expect to be attacked immediately. Was it a coincidence, or was someone targeting them? It seemed that the situation was more complicated than he had imagined. With a boom, something happened outside. The stellar evolution array was actually being suppressed. The attacks that the Manor Lord had sent out were actually being broken. This was impossible. The East Lord was going crazy. He was a super great emperor and was extremely powerful. When he activated the formation, its power was even stronger, unless an Earth immortal came. Otherwise, how could they resist it? But now, the other party had blocked it. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. These people wouldn't come here to kill him, would they? At this moment, Zhou Tianchi sighed. She was the one who attacked. She wanted to kill all of them. She was really ruthless. Who? Lin Xian was stunned. Senior, did you remember something? Do you know who these people are? Yes. Zhou Tianchi nodded, but did not say anything. In the next moment, he formed a seal with his palm. Immediately, the great sky expansion formation shook violently. The light of the formation swept out. Outside, the people of the East Lord Mansion were in despair. This group of experts was really too powerful and too mysterious. They could even suppress the great sky expansion formation. Could it be that their family was really going to suffer a heavy blow today, or even be destroyed? At this moment of despair, the great sky expansion formation suddenly burst out with an even more terrifying light. In an instant, it enveloped the entire world. The black-armored experts were all swallowed up. Chapter 62-68. Damn it, how could this be? The mysterious black-armored powerhouses were shocked. Get lost. They roared angrily, and the power of a great emperor appeared on their bodies. Not only that, but there was also an even more terrifying array power that swept out. This power was enough to destroy heaven and earth. Even a super great emperor would not be able to withstand it. However, in front of the Dian Sky Circle array, it was insignificant. In an instant, they were swallowed up. The black-armored men disappeared between heaven and earth, and the array in the sky was also swallowed up. Only broken cracks could be seen everywhere. What had happened? They had been swallowed up. The powerhouses of the East Lord Mansion were dumbfounded. Did the Mansion Lord show his power? That's great. The Mansion Lord was mighty. They cheered. Inside the array, the East County Mansion Lord was also dumbfounded. It was not him at all. He could not unleash the power of such a powerful array. Who was it? He abruptly turned his head to look. Could it be the mysterious person here? Lin Xian was the only one who could see this mysterious person. However, the other party really existed. Only the other party could unleash such terrifying power. Was this mysterious person the master of the array? He was completely stunned. He even cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Senior." Dozens of black-clothed men appeared in the Dian Sky Circle array. After these black-clothed men came out, they roared into the sky. They wanted to rush out. However, the array began to bind their bodies. These people could not escape and were completely suppressed. However, they did not die. Lin Xian was surprised. "Senior, why don't you kill them?" Zhou Tianchi said in a deep voice, "Kill them. Xian will know." "Who is Xian?" Lin Xian was surprised. "Is she the master behind these black-armored men?" "You Xian, or should be an earth immortal now." Zhou Tianchi sighed, and a trace of sadness appeared in his eyes. Yu Xian Lin Xian repeated this name. An earth immortal. He was extremely surprised. In the next moment, he turned his head and looked at the mansion lord. He said, "Senior, what is the name of the earth immortal of the Array sect? Is her name Yu Xian? The East County Mansion lord's eyelids twitched. How could the name of an earth immortal be called so casually? One had to know that the land immortals were very powerful. If you are disrespectful here, you might be slapped to death across the endless void." However, he still nodded. In this world, very few people knew what the true name of the Array immortal was. However, the East Lord Prefecture Lord was one of the few people who knew. He had heard the name once when he had just become a martial monarch. However, he had never called her out. Moreover, he desperately wanted to forget this name. This was because he was afraid that one day he would accidentally shout it out. He would be reduced to ashes. However, he didn't expect Lin Xian to call out this name. He was even more shocked. Lin Xian was an intruder and had never seen the Array immortal before, so how did he know? After hearing this, Lin Xian gasped. The land immortal of the Array faction was called Yu Xian and she was actually related to the Heavenly Cycle Master. And Yu Xian actually wanted to kill Zhou Tianshi? Why? Lin Xian was puzzled as he looked at Zhou Tianshi. The battle that happened in the East County residence actually happened very quickly. Although it was intense, it didn't take long for it to disappear. As a result, the other families and sects were extremely puzzled. They hadn't reacted yet. However, in the White Jade Palace of the Array faction, Yu Xian frowned slightly. She sensed that the Dian Heavenly Cycle Array formation was shaking. Then, the people she had summoned disappeared. They didn't die. However, she couldn't sense their auras. Did they enter the Dian Heavenly Cycle Array? It was actually so easy. Yu Xian frowned. Was the power of the Array formation weakened? Forget it, let's wait and see. After saying that, she waved her hand. The void split open, and the first elder walked out. The first elder was a super martial monarch, but at this moment he was extremely respectful in front of Yu Xian. He didn't even dare to raise his head. His eyes were fixed on the ground. He knelt on one knee on the ground. "Greetings, sect master. What orders do you have? Didn't you catch an intruder earlier? Bring him over. I have something to ask him." Yes. The first elder left. He came to an underground palace where many people were locked up. These people had all been tortured. One of them was chained up in the air. That person's body was glowing with an astonishing light. He was resisting with all his might. If anyone else saw the scene, they would definitely exclaim, "What a terrifying physique!" Although he was just an ordinary martial monarch, his physique was far superior to his peers. The first elder snorted coldly. "So what if you're strong? Once you're here, you can forget about leaving." The next moment, he waved his hand and quickly left with the figure. When he reappeared, he was back in the White Jade Palace. After leaving the person here, the first elder left. "Where am I?" Leaf Daudenier roared crazily. That's right, the chained figure was Leaf Daudenier. He had entered the 7th layer of heaven with Lin Xian. But halfway there, Violet Immortal's power exploded and knocked them unconscious. Moreover, it was a random teleportation. He fell from the sky. When he woke up, he found himself in a cage, bound and suppressed. However, no one paid attention to him, as if they had forgotten about him. Leaf Daudenier despaired. Was he going to be imprisoned for the rest of his life? But today, someone suddenly appeared and took him away. What followed next was an immortal palace. Leaf Daudenier took a deep breath. "Who are you? Why are you suppressing me?" Leaf Daudenier roared madly. Even if he died, he had to know why. At that moment, he saw a figure walk out, and at the same time, a strange fragrance flew towards him. It smelled so good, he felt as if his soul was about to ascend. In the next moment, when he saw the figure in front of him, His soul started to shake. The woman in front of him was too beautiful to behold. She was so beautiful that words couldn't describe her beauty. Not only that, but her beauty also carried a mysterious power. It was as if she could make anyone go crazy for her. Leif Daudenier's face was full of shock, but soon his body began to tremble. He could sense that this beautiful woman's aura was terrifying to the extreme. This was the power of an Earth Immortal. She was an Earth Immortal. That's great. A glimmer of hope rose in his heart. If he met an Earth Immortal, he would know the whereabouts of the longevity fruit. Moreover, he would be tested next. This way he wouldn't be trapped here. Yu Xian looked at the figure in front of her with a beautiful smile. Intruder, do you know what this is? What secrets do you have? Tell me. Yu Xian stretched out her right hand, revealing a green fruit in her palm. It emitted a mysterious aura. The longevity fruit. Leif Daudenier exclaimed when he saw this. He couldn't be more familiar with this fruit because he had seen it more than once. The longevity fruit? Very good. It seems like you intruders know something. Tell me the secret of the longevity fruit. Yu Xian's voice sounded again. Chapter 62-69. Leif Daudenier was completely stunned. The secret of the longevity fruit? What's going on? The other party was an Earth Immortal. Why would she ask him? Aren't you a guardian? Leif Daudenier seemed to have thought of a possibility and exclaimed, You're very smart. I really can't bear to kill someone like you. Yu Xian's eyes flashed with a piercing cold light. Suddenly, Leif Daudenier felt as if he was struck by lightning. He kept retreating, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. The other party was tearing his soul apart, trying to forcefully search his soul. He roared towards the sky, and a mysterious cauldron appeared in his body, blocking the soul. An extreme weapon? It's useless. No matter how strong an extreme weapon is, it can't withstand a single blow from me. Yu Xian shook her head slightly. Indeed, the strength of an Earth Immortal could crush everything. In the next moment, the power of her soul surged forward again. Leif Daudenier roared and spat a mouthful of blood on the cauldron. He frantically activated the cauldron. Buzz! The power in the cauldron erupted, blocking in front of him like a mountain. Yu Xian's expression changed this time. This was not an ordinary extreme weapon. She seemed to have sensed an extremely terrifying power. How terrifying was the person who created this weapon? Could it be that he was also an Earth Immortal? She was really shocked. In the next moment, she shouted coldly and stretched out her jade-like hand to grab the Celestial Emperor's cauldron. The two collided, producing an earth-shaking sound. At the same time, the other hand grabbed Leif Daudenier. Leif Daudenier was indeed very strong and had a lot of trump cards. However, he was still no match for an Earth Immortal. Therefore, it didn't take long for him to be suppressed. It seems that your background is extraordinary. Don't worry, I won't kill you. I just want to know the secret of the longevity fruit. I'll tell you. Leif Daudenier gritted his teeth and said. In the next moment, the heaven and earth cauldron merged into his glabella. The aura of heaven, earth, and earth appeared between his brows, protecting his soul. He knew that he was no match for her, so he didn't hide anything. He told her everything he knew. Yu Xian frowned slightly. The longevity fruit is only used to save the intruder's life? Impossible. You're lying. Yu Xian shook her head. The longevity fruit, also known as the immortal fruit, had the power of immortality. How could it only be used to save lives? To a land immortal, this was a supreme treasure. At this moment, there was a trace of madness in her eyes. There's no need for me to lie to you. I can't beat you at all. Besides, I'm just an intruder. As an Earth Immortal, you have been here for tens of thousands of years. Don't you know the secret of the longevity fruit? There was no secret about the longevity fruit. Humph. Yu Xian harumphed coldly. With a wave of her hand, she created a cage that trapped Leaf Doudenier. The next moment, she said sternly, "Throw him into the dungeon." Yes. Outside, the Grand Elder hurried over and took Leaf Doudenier away. Yu Xian Er's expression was extremely ugly. She clenched her jade-like hand and wanted to crush the longevity fruit in her hand. However, the longevity fruit was too strange. Even with her strength as an earth immortal, she could not crush it. How could this be? It was completely useless. Damn it! She threw the longevity fruit into the distance. She was really mad. Over the years, she had several longevity fruits by her side. However, she did not know how to use them. She had tried countless methods, such as cutting the longevity fruit into pieces. For example, swallowing it into her body and silently refining it. However, it was completely useless. This was the legendary immortal fruit. Yu Xian did not believe that it was useless at all. She just did not find the right method. Now that she had found an intruder and heard what he said, she was completely dumbfounded. Was the longevity fruit only used to save the intruder's life? Could it be that she had really done something wrong in the past? Impossible. I didn't do anything wrong. Everything I did was right. She shook her head, frantically. There was an oppressive atmosphere in the Array sect. Everyone's hair stood on end. The Grand Elder took Leaf Doudenier back to the dungeon and came out. He said coldly, "From now on, no one is allowed to approach the White Jade Immortal Palace, and no one is allowed to provoke the sect master. Do you understand?" Everyone nodded, not daring to say a word. Heaven and Earth Divination Formation. Inside the formation, Lin Xian was dumbfounded. Lin Xian knew that the sect master of the Array sect was called Yu Xian. Was she the guardian? Did she have the longevity fruit? He wanted to go to the Array sect. However, Heavenly Cycle Master's next words shocked him. Heavenly Cycle Master said, "I am the guardian of the 7th layer of heaven." Lin Xian was really shocked. The guardians were all Earth immortals. This Heavenly Cycle Master was an Earth immortal. But why was the other party so miserable? Even his previous memories had disappeared. Moreover, the other party did not have the terrifying aura of an Earth immortal. "Senior, how did you get injured? Could it be related to Yu Xian? Could it be that the two guardians fought each other and lost?" Lin Xian had learned from the dream god that there were more than one Earth immortal in some places. Heavenly Cycle Master shook his head and sighed. "Yu Xian is my wife. It was her who caused me to be like this." Next, Heavenly Cycle Master told a story. Lin Xian was completely silent after hearing this. It turned out that Heavenly Cycle Master was indeed the guardian of the 7th layer of heaven, and Yu Xian was just a native martial artist of the 7th layer of heaven. By chance, Yu Xian met Heavenly Cycle Master. At that time, Heavenly Cycle Master was already an Earth immortal. Yu Xian was extremely shocked. She thought of all kinds of ways to stay by Heavenly Cycle Master's side. At that time, Heavenly Cycle Master was indeed lacking an assistant. In addition, Yu Xian was very talented at that time and was completely qualified to be this assistant. Therefore, Heavenly Cycle Master took Yu Xian away. After that, the two of them spent time together day and night. Yu Xian was incomparably gentle. In addition, her beautiful face was so beautiful that it made people tremble. 10,000 years later, Yu Xian became a great emperor, and it was at that time that Yu Xian finally became Heavenly Cycle Master's wife. Although the difference in cultivation between the two of them was huge, Heavenly Cycle Master knew that Yu Xian's talent was unparalleled, and her strength would increase very quickly. Sure enough, with his help, Yu Xian only used 20,000 years to become a super great emperor. This was already very heaven-defying. Only a very small number of people with super good luck could break through so quickly. Yu Xian was very confident at that time. In her opinion, she could become an Earth immortal within 50,000 years. However, 50,000 years had passed, and she was still a super great emperor. Another 50,000 years had passed, and she was still a super great emperor. 100,000 years had passed, and her strength was already at the top of the super great emperors. However, she was still unable to become an Earth immortal. That was a crucial step that she would never be able to take. Heavenly Cycle Master also knew that. He sighed and said, "This is your destiny. Your talent and opportunities are not enough for you to become an Earth immortal. However, if you become a super great emperor, you will be able to live forever. As long as you don't leave the 7th layer of heaven and stay by my side, no one will be able to threaten you. You will live forever." This was originally nothing, but Yu Xian was not satisfied. Chapter 62-70. As long as she stayed by Zhou Tianchu's side, there would be no danger. It was equivalent to immortality. This was already very good, but Yu Xian was not satisfied at all. Her ambition was very big. She wanted to become an Earth immortal and truly transcend heaven and earth. However, with the situation at that time, Yu Xian had no chance of becoming an Earth immortal. Therefore, Yu Xian set her sights on Zhou Tianchu. Zhou Tianchu himself was an Earth immortal. Yu Xian wanted to obtain Zhou Tianchu's power and replace him. This was a very crazy idea. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for Yu Xian to become Zhou Tianchu. However, Yu Xian did it. Zhou Tianchu did not know how she did it, but his doomsday came. He was injured and seriously injured. His body collapsed and his divine power disappeared. Yu Xian crazily absorbed his power and broke through to become an Earth immortal. Not only that, Yu Xian took everything away from him, including his power, resources, wealth, and even his identity as a guardian. Of course, there was one thing that Yu Xian did not take away, and that was the Sky Divination Formation. This formation was created by Zhou Tianchu, and it was a formation that he had meticulously prepared. Yu Xian did not participate in this formation, so she could not break it. Even though her strength had increased explosively and surpassed a super great emperor, she still could not break it. Zhou Tianchu's remnant soul entered the Sky Divination Formation, and Yu Xian wanted to kill it. However, she could not do it. For a long time, Yu Xian wanted to tear this formation apart. However, she failed and could only give up in the end. Then, Zhou Xian founded her own sect, the Erase Sect. It swept through all directions. She became an absolute overlord in the 7th heaven, and no one could be her match. Everyone was subservient to her. However, Yu Xian still had a knot in her heart, and that was the Sky Divination Formation. She was very worried that Zhou Tianchu's remnant soul had entered the formation. What if he had recovered? What if he had returned? In the first 10,000 years, she was very worried. However, later on, she realized that the Sky Divination Formation did not change much. She secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Later on, the Sky Divination Formation was discovered by others. Yu Xian was worried again. That person could enter the formation, but that was all. Yu Xian observed that person, and later on, she even secretly helped that person establish his clan and sect. This was the origin of the East County Mansion. After the East County Mansion was established, Yu Xian kept sending spies inside. His goal was to monitor the Heaven Divination Formation at all times. If anything were to happen, she would be the first to know and immediately counterattack. However, after so many years, although the East County Mansion could use some of the power of the Heaven Divination Formation, there had never been any news of the Heaven Divination Master. Not at all. Yu Xian relaxed. Although he had sent a spy, he was no longer worried. From her point of view, it was impossible for Heavenly Cycle Master to recover. Even if she recovered, it didn't matter. Over the years, her strength had improved and she had completely stabilized her cultivation as an Earth Immortal. However, she still had another knot in her heart, and that was the longevity fruit. Back when she was still the wife of the Heavenly Cycle Master, she already knew about the existence of the longevity fruit. Even in the 7th layer of heaven, other warriors called this fruit the immortal fruit. The Heavenly Cycle Master had a total of 11 longevity fruits. They were carefully preserved. Yu Xian had always wanted to ask about the use of the longevity fruit, but the Heavenly Cycle Master shook his head. He said that there was no need to know. Yu Xian felt that the longevity fruit might be the key to becoming an Earth Immortal. Therefore, when she made a move, she took the longevity fruit with her. However, she only took 8 with her. 3 of them followed the Heavenly Cycle Master into the Heaven Divination Formation. Yu Xian had been studying the secret of the longevity fruit all these years, but she couldn't crack it. This longevity fruit was the same as the Heaven Divination Formation. It gave her a headache. However, this made her feel that the longevity fruit had endless secrets. After hearing the story, Lin Xian's brows furrowed tightly. This Yu Xian was truly vicious. She actually dared to lay her hands on her own husband. The Heavenly Cycle Master was really too tragic. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. Yu Xian was obviously a vicious person. Moreover, she wasn't the real guardian. She was a replacement. He wanted to obtain the longevity fruit. It could be said that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The other party had 8 longevity fruits, which represented the lives of 8 great emperors. Lin Xian didn't want to give up. However, was he going to face an Earth Immortal directly? Lin Xian took a deep breath and looked at the Heavenly Cycle Master again. He said, "Senior, is there anything I can do? I must help you." The Heavenly Cycle Master shook his head slightly. "You can't help me, but you can take these 3 longevity fruits with you. As for the Heaven Divination Formation, I can let you comprehend it. How much you can comprehend will depend on your luck." Lin Xian was extremely grateful. "Thank you, Senior." At the same time, he said, "I'm an intruder. I have a chance to get out. Although you're heavily injured, outside the Immortal City is also the vast universe. There are endless treasures there. After you get out, you might be able to be reborn." "I can't get out." The Heavenly Cycle Master shook his head and said, "I'm the guardian. My mission is to guard the 7th heaven. Although I'm heavily injured, I still can't get out." Unless the Heavenly Cycle Master didn't continue the story because it was impossible. Unless what? Lin Xian asked. The Heavenly Cycle Master looked at him and said, "Unless you can find the Immortal Order. At that time, you might be able to bring me out. However, from what I know, the Immortal Order is very mysterious. It's impossible for an intruder to find it. Even an Earth Immortal might not be able to find it." The Immortal Order? Lin Xian clenched his fists. He had to give it a try. And this time his goal wasn't the order. The Heavenly Cycle Master waved his hand, and the longevity fruits in the distance floated over and landed in Lin Xian's hand. Lin Xian was overjoyed. "Thank you, Senior." He carefully put away the 3 longevity fruits. Behind him, the Prefecture Master and Lan Yingying were extremely shocked when they saw the scene, especially the Prefecture Master. He had long known about the existence of the longevity fruits. However, he couldn't obtain them for tens of thousands of years and could only watch from afar. But he didn't expect that the 3 longevity fruits would float to Lin Xian's side. It was really too magical. Next, he had to comprehend the Heaven Divination Formation. However, after trying for a while, Lin Xian shook his head and gave up. He had no choice. His attainments and formations were not bad, but they weren't the best. He wasn't even as good as the East County Prefecture Master. The East County Prefecture Master had been comprehending here for tens of thousands of years, but it was useless, let alone Lin Xian. The Heavenly Cycle Master also said, "Young man, I can't help you much with this formation. Although I was the one who created this formation, from the moment it was born, it was no longer under my control. It can grow and change on its own. Although I can use it, I can't help you. You can only comprehend it yourself." Chapter 62-71. The Great Sky Divination Array was too magical, so magical that it was hard to believe. Lin Xian thought for a moment and decided to give up. He did not plan to control the Great Sky Divination Array. He was afraid that it would take too much time. However, he did not leave this place. He planned to stay here and cultivate. He would continue to use the Samadhi True Fire to increase the power of the 9-yang divine body. In this way, his strength would increase. When he found the immortal token, he could take Zhou Tianshi away. That would be a great harvest. Lin Xian's goal was very clear. Moreover, he knew that he would probably have to face Yu Xian next. He could not do it without strength. Lin Xian told Zhou Tianshi his thoughts. Zhou Tianshi was shocked after hearing that. "You have the immortal flame?" Xian nodded. "That's right." He took out the Samadhi True Fire. When that terrifying flame appeared, the Dian Heavenly Cycle formation started to shake rapidly. Behind him, the expressions of the Academy Master, Lan Ying, and the others changed drastically. "What is that? Why is it so terrifying?" The Academy Master was dumbfounded. His family had attacked Lin Xian earlier. They were really reckless. If he had not stopped them, it would not have been Lin Xian who was injured, but his family. The powerhouses in his family would have been reduced to ashes. Zhou Tianshi took a deep breath. "It really is the power of immortality. I'm really surprised that you found this thing. Young man, I think that you have unlimited hope now. You might be able to find the immortal token. Thank you for your kind words. Senior, can you use the array to control the Samadhi True Fire for me? I want to use it to temper my body." Previously, he had spent a month cultivating. However, it was not ideal. "No problem. I can help you." Zhou Tianshi nodded repeatedly. After all, he was the one controlling the array this time. Therefore, he could help Lin Xian. "Thank you, Senior." Lin Xian was overjoyed. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to use the power of the Samadhi True Fire to temper his right hand. Lin Xian's right hand still could not withstand such a terrifying aura. However, it was at this moment that the stellar circulation formation activated, and the power of the formation shrouded the area. Suddenly, Lin Xian felt the pressure lessen. The 3 true flames seemed to have been separated into many strands. This way, he would be able to absorb it. That's great. Lin Xian began to cultivate like crazy. At the same time, Xiao Bai was still searching for something in the sword world. He mainly searched the vicinity of the Sun Valley to see if there was anything. He could help the Heavenly Cycle Master. After all, the Heavenly Cycle Master was not in a good state right now. It would be best if he could recover some of his strength. Xiao Bai threw out a lot of things from the sword world. There were even some spirit pills and spring of life. However, as soon as these items came out, they were immediately petrified. None of them could be used. The little fellow was so anxious that he stomped his feet. Zhou Tianshi said, "Don't throw things out. These things are useless to me. However, to people like you it is a treasure. It is better to keep it well in case you need it. You've already helped me. You've helped me find my consciousness and soul. I've already remembered everything. So, I can recover on my own." Hearing this, Xiao Bai stopped attacking. He quieted down in the sword world and fell asleep again. Zhou Tianshi waved his hand. He also used the power of the array to recover. Although he could not recover to his peak, he could at least adjust his condition. Boom! 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 Outside the great sky divination array, it was extremely calm. However, inside the array it was violently tumbling. It formed a terrifying aura. In the end, Lan Yingying and the mansion ancestor could not bear it at all. The two of them retreated. Outside, the people of the East County were still waiting. The previous battle had caused them to suffer heavy injuries. As they recovered, they looked forward to the situation inside. Finally, on this day, they saw their patriarch come out. These people all rushed up, extremely excited. "Patriarch, you have to avenge us." "Yes, Patriarch. Someone dared to sneak attack us." "How despicable." "Patriarch, it might be someone from the Ice family. Should we fight back?" Countless voices could be heard. The East County Mansion master shook his head and said, "Everyone rest and prepare for the next array competition. During this period of time, I will personally guide you in array formation when I am free." "Really? That's great." Countless people were overjoyed. One had to know that their mansion master had been in the array formation for tens of thousands of years and would not come out at all. Even if they had doubts, they could only think about it themselves. But now it was different. Their mansion master would give them pointers. This way, their strength would increase by leaps and bounds. The East County Mansion began to prepare for the array formation competition. On the other side, the array faction, Yu Xian frowned. Yu Xian waited for many days and found that the people she sent out still had not come out. This gave her a bad premonition. It seemed that those people had died. Perhaps I should personally explore the Great Sky Divination Array. However, she did not immediately take action. She was waiting for the array formation competition. This competition concerned the fate of the East County Mansion. If the East County Mansion really obtained something from the Great Sky Divination Array during the array formation competition, they would definitely use it. At that time, she would be able to see it clearly. Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, there were only 3 days before the array formation competition. The people of the East County Mansion had already finished their preparations. The Ice family was also ready to go. This time they could only succeed. They could not fail. Inside the Great Sky Divination Array, Lin Xian also opened his eyes. He exclaimed in surprise. His right hand had become even more dazzling. He had already absorbed a portion of the power of the 3 true flames. There were a total of 27 bones in his right hand. At this moment, he had already tempered 20 bones. This speed was really shocking. It had not been many days. In fact, it had only been a little more than a month. However, over the past month, he felt as if he had entered a dream. That kind of state was really great. He knew that this should be because of the Great Sky Divination Array. He even felt that the flow of time was very slow. Had the Great Sky Divination Array touched the flow of time? He was extremely surprised and asked the Heavenly Cycle Master. The Heavenly Cycle Master said, "The Great Sky Divination Array is very mysterious. Sometimes it can indeed touch the power of time. However, the probability is very small. I didn't expect you to be able to touch it. I have to say, little guy, you are very lucky." Lin Xian was surprised. Was it good luck? He was not sure, because he had a time hourglass on him. This hourglass was used when he went to the Land of Destiny to look for E. However, he did not find E. Perhaps this time it had something to do with this hourglass. But no matter what the reason was, Lin Xian's strength had increased. There was even a trace of immortal aura. Next, he prepared to leave the array formation and participate in the array formation competition. This was because the people from the array faction would also appear in this array formation competition. Lin Xian wanted to get in touch with the array sect and see how strong they were. After the Heavenly Cycle Master heard this, he said, "Be careful of Yu Xian. Unless it is absolutely necessary, do not fight against her." Chapter 62-72. The 7th Level of Heaven. Countless arrays flashed, connecting the sky and the earth. This was an extremely vast plain. On both sides of the plain, there were many people standing there. The auras of these people were very powerful. Some of them were even great emperors. They seemed to have turned into gods in the world. Countless people looked up to them. That's right, there were countless figures even further away from these two groups of people. However, no one dared to get close. The people in the front were from the Ice family and the East County government. They were the families that were going to participate in the array competition. Further away were the other families and sects in this space, as well as individual cultivators. However, they were not qualified to participate in the competition. They could only watch from afar. The people from the Ice family were all wearing blue robes and armor. The one standing at the front was a tall man. His face was full of majesty, and there was an extremely strong sense of oppression coming from his body. Countless people trembled. It seemed that one look from him could make them kneel down. At this moment, the leader of the Ice family, Han Wu, looked forward and said in a low voice, "What a surprise! I didn't expect the leader of the East County government to come in person." He was indeed surprised. The leader of the East County government had not appeared for tens of thousands of years. This time he had walked out of the array. Could it be that he had discovered something special when he studied the Dian array? The leader of the East County government smiled and said, "I haven't come out for a long time. This world seems to have forgotten about me. Today, I'm here to tell the world that I'm still alive and will always be at the top." An extremely terrifying aura rushed out of his body. The entire world shook violently. The people in the distance were shocked. Their scalps were numb. Indeed, he had not come out for tens of thousands of years. There were all kinds of rumors. It was said that he had died. However, the East County government did not dare to say it out loud. But now, he had appeared and destroyed all the rumors. There was no point in talking. Let's fight. However, who are you going to send? I heard that the genius of your family, Lan Ying, is not in a good condition. The leader of the Ice family laughed coldly. He looked at the other side again. He looked at Lan Ying because he had heard that she had a strange disease and would not live for long. Lan Ying's entire body was hidden in her loose clothes. It was impossible to see the expression on her face. However, his opponent's aura was extremely weak. This caused the people of the Icy Ice family to laugh coldly. The East County clan was finished. A great emperor had died. The genius was sick again. He would definitely lose this battle. However, when they saw that there was a young man beside Lan Ying, they were stunned. Who is this person? It was very unfamiliar. The person they saw was naturally Lin Xian. Someone said, "I heard that he is Lan Ying's unlucky husband." They didn't care about such a person because he didn't know anything about arrays. After waiting for another incense stick's worth of time, several figures descended from the sky. These figures were even more powerful. They had arrived via a spatial array. Everyone held their breaths. Even the people from the Ice family and the East County government looked serious because the people who had come were from the deployment sect. Lin Xian raised his head and looked into the distance. He squinted his eyes and thought, "Deployment sect, right? I've finally come into contact with this family. I wonder if Yu Xian is here?" Soon, he realized that Yu Xian was not here. The strongest person here was a great emperor, the Grand Elder of the deployment sect. There were 3 elders behind him. There were also some young disciples. Among them, there was a young man who followed beside him. He was incomparably handsome. This made the people of the Ice family happy because this was a genius of their family. He had been cultivating with the Grand Elder. His array skills must have improved by leaps and bounds. This time, they would definitely win. "Go." The Grand Elder waved his hand. The young man beside him bowed respectfully and then flew towards the Ice family. He was not the only one. Behind him, several other young men flew over. Some of them flew towards the Ice family, while others flew towards the East County government. The atmosphere suddenly became lively. The people in the distance were also excited because they knew that the array formation competition was about to begin. The Grand Elder walked out and said in a low voice, "The array formation competition has begun." The entire array formation competition was divided into 3 arenas. The first arena was to crack the array formation. The second arena was to use array formations to attack each other. However, it was a one-on-one battle. The third arena was a group battle. They still used array formations. The people from both sides walked up. Each side sent out 8 people. They faced the first round, which was to crack the array formation. This array formation was proposed by Chief Zheng. The Grand Elder waved his hand, and an array formation enveloped the 16 people below. Suddenly, the people inside felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They roared and began to crack the array formation. Lin Xian did not participate. This time, he was only here to watch the deployment sect. However, only a few elders came, which disappointed him. However, he did not know that something else had come. It was the eye of the array formation. It was floating in the void. However, this array formation was extremely terrifying. This was the array formation of an Earth Immortal. It was personally set up by Yuxian. With the arrival of the eye of the array formation, Yuxian could see everything clearly through this array formation. What she paid the most attention to was the situation in the East County Mansion. While paying attention to the competition, she also kept an eye on the East County Mansion Lord. The other party had not come out for tens of thousands of years. Now that he had appeared, it seemed that there were indeed some changes in the Heaven Divination Array. However, when she looked at Lin Xian, she was even more shocked. This person's aura was not ordinary. He was an intruder. There was actually an intruder in the East County Mansion. Could it be related to the Heavenly Cycle Master? Thinking of this, she could no longer remain calm, because she still had a glimmer of hope, and that was that the longevity fruit really had some secret. However, this secret was very likely related to the intruder. Now that she saw Lin Xian, her face turned cold. In the next moment, she sent a voice transmission and ordered her subordinates to attack Lin Xian. The time of the competition passed very quickly. In the end, the Ice family won. 5 of them broke through the array formation and walked out. As for the East County Mansion, there were only 3 people. That's great. The people of the Ice family were overjoyed. This time, as long as they won, they could swallow half of the resources of the East County Mansion. In that way, their family would become even more powerful, and they would become the most powerful family besides the Array faction. They were very confident. The next competition is a battle of arrays. We must not be careless. The Patriarch said. The young geniuses said, "Don't worry, Patriarch. Lan Yingying, who was originally a threat, will not live for long. She is very weak now." The other genius, Lan Lei, was said to have been killed. The East County Mansion did not have any more geniuses. Indeed, the great emperors of the Ice family also thought so. Night came. Lin Xian and the others all rested. Countless pavilions and towers formed by the formation on the plains. Lin Xian was alone in one of the pavilions, quietly cultivating his divine body. At this moment, the void behind him broke open, and a blood-red long saber appeared. Then it slashed towards him. Chapter 62-73. One had to know that there were many formations around Lin Xian. They were all set up by the East County Mansion and were extremely powerful. However, they still couldn't stop this move. In fact, this saber appeared silently. It was really too strange. This was definitely a top-notch swordsman. However, this wasn't the end. The void broke open again, and a long sword appeared in front of Lin Xian. A black longsword was moving at an extremely fast speed. On Lin Xian's left, a thunderbolt appeared. It was a thunderbolt formed by the formation. On Lin Xian's right was ice. It was also a formation. Lin Xian was surrounded by terrifying killing moves. Even a great emperor would probably die instantly. Even a super great emperor could only dodge quickly. Buzz! At this critical moment, Lin Xian moved and a pair of black wings appeared on his back. The heavenly eagle flashed. His speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he left his original spot, and the afterimage he left behind was torn into pieces. The person who attacked in the dark was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be so fast. Was he really just an ordinary great emperor? However, after a moment of surprise, they attacked again. They were the top assassins. They came with killing intent. They definitely wouldn't allow the other party to live. Even if the other party escaped quickly, what could he do? Escape from this world? Boundless ice gradually froze the space, while thunder and lightning filled the sky. The long sword and long saber also turned into countless saber lights and sword shadows, sweeping over. This time, even if Lin Xian escaped to the ends of the world, he would probably be hit. Clang! Boom! The saber lights and sword shadows collided with Lin Xian's body, making an earth-shattering sound. The ice froze Lin Xian, and the lightning also swallowed Lin Xian. That's great. The 4 terrifying powers had all hit him. The person in the dark was delighted. So what if you're a great emperor? Under such an attack, you'll definitely die, because the person who attacked was also extremely terrifying. Moreover, even if the East County government reacted, what could they do? By the time the people from the East County mansion arrived, they had already left. Is this your attack? A sure kill attack? Too weak. Lin Xian's voice suddenly rang out. Everyone was stunned. Although those people were hidden in the void, they were still able to see through it. However, one could imagine the shock on their faces. How was this possible? They all looked in front of them. Lin Xian's figure appeared amidst the flashes of the swords. All of the attacks landed on the other party's body, but they were unable to break through the other party's defense. How did this guy do it? Wasn't his physique a little too strong? The people in the dark were all stunned. Lin Xian coldly snorted and punched out. Suddenly, the space inside the palace shattered and turned into nothingness. And from this void, 4 figures walked out. These 4 people were the top experts who had attacked just now. 2 9-crown kings, 2 great emperors. Such a lineup could indeed kill a great emperor. However, it was a pity that Lin Xian wasn't an ordinary great emperor. When Lin Xian looked at the 2 9-crown kings, a hint of disdain appeared in his eyes. 9-crown kings, how dare you be arrogant in front of me? He flicked his finger, and a sword chi flew out. You're courting death. How dare you underestimate me? The 9-crown king behind was a middle-aged man. He was furious at this moment. Although he was the 9-crown king, the formations on his body were powerful. In an instant, 9 formations appeared on his body. With 3 defensive formations and 6 formations, Lin Fan unleashed his ultimate killing move. Terrifying energy gushed out. This time, they were here on the orders of an Earth immortal. The formations in their hands were definitely extremely powerful. Sure enough, the 6 killing formations swept across the world, emitting a bell-like sound. Pooh! Lin Xian's sword chi pierced through the 6 formations like a hot knife through butter and arrived in front of the 3 defensive formations. Then it instantly pierced through. In the next moment, 9-crown king's body trembled. He was dumbfounded. How was this possible? He was actually killed in an instant. As for this person, he merely waved his finger lightly. Boom! 9-crown king's body fell to the ground. His eyes were wide open, filled with unwillingness and despair. The other 3 sucked in a breath of cold air. His sword chi was actually so terrifying. The intelligence was wrong. This wasn't an ordinary great emperor. Could it be that he was a super great emperor? They instantly broke out in cold sweat. At this time, Lin Xian turned around and looked at the other 9-crown king. This 9-crown king was a young girl. Her white robes were spotless, and her exquisite face was filled with endless fear at this moment. Lin Xian moved again. With a flick of his finger, another sword chi shot out. The girl in white didn't dare to take it head-on. She quickly dodged. Furthermore, 2 accumulative points methods appeared beneath her feet, making her speed extremely fast. She wasn't any weaker than a great emperor. One had to admit that authentic formations were really powerful. 9-crowned king with formations could actually fight a great emperor, as expected of a top-tier formation technique. But so what? Lin Xian's sword Qi contained the power of an immortal. These formations couldn't be broken at all. Another unstoppable attack, and the girl in white fell to the ground. Another one died. The entire process had only taken 2 seconds. 2 seconds later, only 2 great emperor assassins were left. The 2 great emperor assassins' expressions were extremely ugly. They attacked together. The 2 of them roared furiously. They weren't the 9-crowned king. They were much stronger than the 9-crowned king. In addition to their peerless formations, they didn't believe they couldn't kill him. There was no need to hold back. Just a trace of their soul would be enough. The 2 of them roared angrily and rushed over quickly. The man on the left had the destructive power of thunder. The man on the right had ice that sealed everything. Divine flames burst out from the 2 martial monarchs as 20 formations appeared in their hands, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Even a super great emperor wouldn't dare fight them, right? In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian didn't leave. Instead, he smiled. He reached out his right hand, the golden right hand, and slapped forward. Great solar undying palm. This was an emperor-level technique. Lin Xian's golden right hand had been tempered by the 3 true fire. Once it was used, its power was extremely terrifying. Impossible. The 2 great emperors roared in fear. They were really crazy. That was because they saw that the 20 formations that they had created were rapidly breaking apart. Their opponent's golden palm was like the hand of a god. It destroyed everything in its path. What kind of power was this? This was a power they had never seen before. Soon, the palm enveloped the 2 of them. They realized that their bodies had turned into blood mist. You can't kill us. If you kill us, you'll be dead. The person behind us isn't someone you can offend. Let us go, or you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Lin Xian smirked coldly as he held both of their bodies in his hands. He said indifferently, "Did Yu Xian send you?" The 2 great emperors' expressions changed. How was this possible? This was a secret. How did he know? The Thunder Great Emperor gritted his teeth. As expected of an intruder, he's really strong, but since you know that an Earth Immortal sent us, you should know the power of a Formation Immortal. Now, kneel on the ground obediently and wait for us to deal with you. Otherwise, you'll end up like your companions, trapped in the dungeon for all eternity. Chapter 62-74. Hearing that, Lin Xian's expression changed. There was an intruder suppressed in the dungeon. Who was it? This time, other than Yi Wu Dao, the Red Fish Emperor was with him. They were all his friends. Could it be him? Damn it, you're courting death. Lin Xian roared and attacked again. Their bodies had completely melted, and their souls had been shattered. They were completely terrified, but they could feel a trace of killing intent in Lin Xian's eyes. He searched their souls and opened his Rinnegan. The power of the 6 paths merged into their souls and forcibly took them. For example, Leaf Dao Denier was the one imprisoned in the dungeon. However, these 2 didn't know about Yu Xian Oi's situation. There seemed to be some memories in their souls that had been forcibly erased. With another cold snort, Lin Xian activated the great solar indestructible palm and directly killed the 2 of them. The 2 of them were just ordinary great emperors, so they were no match for Lin Xian at all. Boom! Boom! The fall of the 2 great emperors caused the world to tremble and rain of blood to fall. Everyone was stunned. The great emperors had fallen. Who was it? At this moment, the array formation competition was going on. The people of the East County Mansion and the Ice family were all here. In the distance, there were countless spectators. They looked up at the sky with horror. Which clan's martial monarch had fallen? The people of the Ice family were shocked. They quickly gathered the great emperors and heaved a sigh of relief when they found that it wasn't their family. At the same time, they laughed. "Haha, it's the East County Mansion. That's great." A great emperor from the East County Mansion had died. This time, the other party would definitely lose. They could even devour the other party. There was another group of people who were shocked. They were the people of the Array faction. The first elder and the others' expressions changed. Not good, one of their people had died. The first elder naturally knew about this operation. However, in his opinion, it was foolproof to attack only one great emperor. Therefore, he didn't take it to heart. However, the situation was beyond his expectations. Damn it, who was it? Someone was helping that kid. Could it be the East County Mansion Lord? Damn it, since that was the case, he would directly destroy the East County residents. He snorted coldly and instantly attacked. He tore open the array formation of the East County Mansion and rushed over. However, what awaited him was an even more terrifying formation that directly enveloped him. The first elder was scared out of his wits. This is the power of the Heaven Divination formation. How is this possible? Could he use the Heavenly Divination formation? He was in a daze. He didn't believe it. Inside the Great Sky Expansion formation, Lin Xian and the East County governor stood there and looked at the great elder with a cold smile. The great elder roared. "You guys really joined hands. East Lord, Prefecture Lord, do you want your clan to be wiped out? I'll give you a chance. Join hands with me and suppress this brat. Also, come with me to see the formation immortal. Tell her how you activated the Dian formation. If the Array Immortal is happy, he might even let you enter the Array sect to cultivate." In the face of such words, the East Lord Chief was unmoved. Lin Xian sneered. "You're about to die, and you're still jumping around here. With just you guys? You want to kill me?" The great elder roared. "I'll let you see the formation of our Array sect." His strength was not weaker than the East County governor's. Moreover, his formation was definitely stronger than the other parties. In an instant, he rushed out. The formation covered the sky and the earth as it charged forward. As for the great elder, he quickly retreated because he wanted to leave the Great Sky Expansion formation. He knew how terrifying this formation was. Boom! In the next moment, the great elder stopped. He felt a pair of eyes staring at him. He turned his head abruptly, but he couldn't see anyone. Who was it? "Get out here!" He roared crazily. This time it was not only Lin Xian and the East County governor who attacked. It was also the Dian formation. Only the Heavenly Cycle Master could activate it. The other party was also here. However, the great elder couldn't see it. The Heavenly Cycle Master attacked and directly controlled the other party. Lin Xian said, "Senior, be careful. There's a soul seal of a righteous immortal inside. Don't touch it." The Heavenly Cycle Master nodded. The Great Sky Expansion formation surged into the Great Elder's mind and formed another seal. With a plop, the Great Elder knelt in front of him. "Greetings, Master." He spoke quickly. The East County governor was stunned. This was a powerhouse who was not weaker than him. In fact, he was even stronger than him. But at this moment, he actually submitted in an instant. What kind of method was this? He also felt his hair stand on end. At the same time, he was extremely glad. Fortunately, he had joined forces with Lin Xian. That's right. 3 days before the formation competition, Lin Xian opened his eyes and decided to watch the formation competition. At the same time, he had another plan, which was to attack Yuxian Er. At the very least, he had to get the longevity fruit. He planned to join forces with the Heavenly Cycle Master. As expected, the Heavenly Cycle Master agreed. It was time to end the grudge from back then. At the same time, Lin Xian planned to join forces with the East County governor because he needed the other party to cooperate with him. First, he cured Lan Yingying's illness. In fact, this illness was very simple. It was related to the Heavenly Cycle Master. However, at that time the Heavenly Cycle Master's soul was not clear, so Lan Yingying would definitely die. Now that the Heavenly Cycle Master had woken up, Lan Yingying's illness was naturally cured. The East County governor was very happy that Lan Yingying's illness was cured. She was the heir of their family. Lin Xian then told him about the sky divination array. Of course, he did not mention the core situation. He also did not mention the grudge between the two land immortals. He only said that Yu Xian would definitely obtain the sky divination array. If they did not join forces this time, the East County governor would definitely die. The East County governor thought about it again and asked Lin Xian. Lin Xian released some more news, which shocked the East County governor. It turned out that there was another land immortal in the sky divination array. He quickly agreed. Then the previous scene happened. Now they controlled the Great Elder. The governor asked, Lin Gongzi, what should we do next? Lin Xian said, everything will continue as usual. You will continue the competition tomorrow. As for me, I will sneak into the Array sect. I want to save my companions first, and then I will attack the Array sect. Attack the Array sect? Even though the Great Elder knew about this idea, he still gasped when he heard it with his own ears. That was a truly colossal existence. It was settled. Lin Xian looked ahead and said, Senior, I will need your help when the time comes. No problem. Zhou Tianchi nodded. However, I can't hurt her. Lin Xian said, You don't have to hurt her. You just need to restrain her so that she can't move. Leave the rest to me. Lin Xian held the purple gourd tightly. He was ready to use some of his trump cards. Outside, countless people were still nervous. What happened? 2 great emperors had died. The people of the Array sect even planned to force their way in. However, at this moment, the Great Elder walked out again and said, Is everything all right? Those 2 great emperors were monsters. They had a grudge with the East County governor before. At this moment, they were killed by the East County governor. It turned out that such a thing had happened. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The Great Elder returned to his residence and immediately sent a message to the Array Immortal. The Array Immortal naturally knew about the death of the 2 great emperors. She asked, Did the plan fail? The Great Elder said, Yes, it failed. However, the situation is still under control. Today, I plan to stabilize the East County governor and the intruder first. I will attack tomorrow. This time I will personally attack. I guarantee that nothing will go wrong. Okay, the Array Immortal nodded. She was very confident in the Great Elder's strength. As long as it wasn't an Earth Immortal, no one was a match for the Great Elder. The next day, the Array formation competition continued. The Ice family was full of confidence. They decided to defeat the other party in one go. They didn't even need to compete in the 3rd round. The East County governor was under a lot of pressure. Ordinary disciples didn't know these secrets at all. They even thought that Lan Yingying was dead. However, at this moment, Lan Yingying walked out. Her face was full of smiles, and there was no trace of illness on her body. Today, she was going to participate in the battle. At the same time, Lin Xian also set off. He went to the Array sect. Chapter 62-75. The battle between the 2 top formation families had already begun. Everyone cried out in surprise. This battle attracted the attention of most people in the 7th heaven. However, they didn't know that an even more terrifying battle was about to break out. The location of the battle was the Array faction. There was no one guarding the Array faction because their formations were enough to defend against everything. Furthermore, this was an absolute victory. No one dared to come here. But today a figure had come. Looking at the countless palaces and formations in front of him, Lin Xian snorted coldly. He took out a few talismans. These were all formation talismans. They were given to him by the Grand Celestial Master. These were the formations made by the Grand Celestial Master. With one talisman, Lin Xian's figure was swallowed by the void and disappeared. In addition, he took out another talisman and rushed forward. In an instant, he entered the Array faction like a bolt of lightning. After entering, Lin Xian was still hidden in the void. He began to search for Yi Daodenier. Soon he found him. He didn't find Yi Daodenier, but he found the underground palace. According to the dead great emperor, Yi Daodenier was suppressed in the underground palace. Lin Xian entered the underground palace. This underground palace was like a cage, imprisoning countless powerful beings. These were all people who were against the Ray faction. None of them died. They were captured and tortured here. The disciples of the Array faction held sharp blades in their hands and tortured them. They sneered. Now you know the consequences of going against the Array faction. You will never die. You have to live in despair. Ha ha! They were extremely proud. However, when they saw Yi Daodenier, they frowned. This person was also a prisoner. However, they couldn't hurt him. That was because his physique was very strong. I'll do it. This time an old man walked out. He was a super great emperor. He was the elder of the dungeon and was responsible for guarding the dungeon. Now that he was making a move, the disciples of the Array faction were overjoyed. Great, the elder is personally making a move. This kid is dead for sure. No matter how strong he was no match for them. As expected, a super grand emperor ripped through Leaf Daodenier's defenses. Leaf Daodenier's golden blood dripped down onto the ground, but he didn't even frown. He said coldly, "My companions will come to save me. At that time, all of you will be dead. Companions? Intruders like you are at most super great emperors. But our race sect has Earth Immortals. Forget about your companions. No matter how strong they are no match for an Earth Immortal. If he came, he would only be throwing his life away. How laughable! You actually still have such hope. Looks like I'll have to let you experience what despair is." The super great emperor snorted coldly. "If you touch him again, I'll make you wish you were dead." At this moment, a cold voice echoed from the void. Everyone was horrified. Who was it? He wasn't from the Array faction. Leaf Daodenier was overjoyed. "You're here." He smiled. He knew that Lin Xian would come to save him. That's right, the person who came was indeed Lin Xian. He appeared in the dungeon. His appearance stunned everyone in the dungeon. How did he get here? The old man in front also turned his head abruptly. However, when he saw that Lin Xian was just a great emperor, he laughed. "Haha, is that what you're hoping for? Just a great emperor? Such a person is just an ant. Let's see how I kill him. Men, suppress him for me." The old man waved his hand, and immediately 7 figures walked out from the surroundings. These 7 figures were extremely terrifying. Some of them were great emperors and some were not. However, at this moment, they had a peerless array in their hands, and they had the combat strength of a great emperor. "How dare you behave so atrociously here? You're dead." These 7 people were all the old man's disciples. They decided to suppress the other party in an instant. The 7 of them rushed over, their hands shining with extremely terrifying light. As for the other disciples, they all sneered. Not to mention great emperors. Even super great emperors couldn't be arrogant in front of them. Boom! Facing the attack of the 7 people, Lin Xian continuously attacked. Great solar indestructible palm. The golden right hand and the power of an immortal erupted together, turning into a peerless light that instantly surged forward. After the explosion, the 7 great emperors were reduced to ashes. They were just ants. Lin Xian retracted his palm and walked forward. "How dare you attack my companions? You're all dead. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with piercing, cold, killing intent. A dragon had a reverse scale, and those who touched it would die. Therefore, none of the disciples of the Array faction in the underground palace could escape. How was this possible? They were all dead. He killed 7 great emperors in an instant. Among them, there were 2 real great emperors. The surrounding people were stunned. The disciples of the Array faction were trembling in fear. As for the prisoners, they were trembling with excitement. Ha 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 ha, the Array faction also has such a day? Shut up, the old man in front roared. He was really stunned. The next moment he gritted his teeth. Kid, go to hell. He was a super great emperor. At this moment he attacked aggressively. A purple long saber appeared in front of him. Like an overlord, it slashed out, shattering heaven and earth. Not only that, the old man attacked again. He opened his mouth and spat out a bolt of lightning. It was a terrifying bolt of lightning. It broke heaven and earth. 2 ultimate attacks. The other party should be dead, right? Lin Xian's speed suddenly increased. He dodged the 2 attacks in an instant and arrived in front of the old man. The old man sneered. I'm a super great emperor. You want to fight me in close combat? Stupid thing. He threw out a punch. Lin Xian didn't resist. With a wave of his hand, another Array talisman appeared. This was a spatial array talisman created by Zhou Tianshi. It instantly enveloped the old man. Boom! The array flickered and the old man disappeared. Was he teleported away? The disciples of the Array faction were terrified. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Not only was he teleported. In the next moment, the old man left the Array faction and came to the endless mountains. After he came out, he roared, Kid, you're dead! He was ready to kill his way back. However, he underestimated this Array formation. Zhou Tianshi was an Earth immortal. Even if his body was broken now, he was still not someone a super great emperor could resist. In addition to spatial teleportation, this Array formation also had another move, which was spatial cutting. In the next moment, space was split into 8 pieces. The old man's body was torn into pieces, and even his soul was destroyed. He screamed miserably and died. Between heaven and earth, the sea of blood rolled again. This time, the world rumbled as if it was the end of the world. Everyone went crazy. Another great emperor had fallen, and it was a super great emperor. Who was it that did it? They were all stunned. An angry roar came from the Array faction. It was Yu Xian'ers. She could naturally feel the old man's death. An enemy had come in without anyone noticing. Damn it! With a roar, the entire Array faction rolled violently. Everyone exclaimed, Not good. Get ready, a powerful enemy is attacking. They all rose into the air. Even the power of an Earth immortal came crashing down from the sky. Everyone went crazy. Who was the enemy? They were so reckless. Who dared to challenge them? Before they could discover the enemy, an earth-shattering sound suddenly rang out. The ground of the Array faction was torn apart, and an endless destructive aura shot into the sky. Some of the disciples who were close were instantly turned into ashes. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.